Welcome back to part 5 of What If Hinata was the sensei of Team 7. Please make sure to like and subscribe as it motivates me to make more videos, and as always link to the fanfiction is in the description. Chapter 13 Operation Make Sensei Smile. Naruto was determined to make Hinata laugh, but he didn't know how. He needed help to make it possible. He tried to think of a bunch of plans and discarded them one by one. If he was going to make her laugh, he had to get it right. He had to find something that would generally make her laugh, but he didn't know what would make her smile. He was frustrated that it was 5 days before the Jonin exams, and he had nothing. He needed some help. He needed advice. He was wondering if Hanabi would be helpful. As if his prayers could be answered, he saw her, along with her other teammates and her sensei. "Naruto, what are you up to? Shouldn't you be with her team?" asked Kurenai, curious as to why Naruto wasn't with his team. "Can I borrow Hanabi for a second?" Naruto asked her. "How important is this?" Kurenai, curious about what Naruto was asking, asked. "I can't tell you this secret, only between me and Hanabi." She looks confused. "Whatever Naruto wants to talk to you about, it can't take too long. Meet us at the training grounds when you're done talking to him," Kurenai said to her. After her teammates left, Naruto felt confident he could talk to her. "I was wondering if you could help me," Naruto asked her in a pleading tone. Just what was his reasoning for wanting to talk to her one-on-one? She wanted to ask him. She was a little annoyed. "This be better important. I have to train with my team, Naruto." She crossed her arms and waited for his answer. "I want to know if you would be willing to help me make Hinata laugh and smile." Naruto turned away in embarrassment. "Wait, what?" Hanabi asked, surprised. "You heard me. I want to know if you will help make your sister laugh and smile." She couldn't comprehend what he said. It had to be a joke. "There's no way. You dragged me out here, just to ask me to make my sister laugh. This is ridiculous. The Chunin exams are coming soon, shouldn't you be focusing on training?" she asked, scolding him. "I know what you're thinking, but I'm not backing down. I want to make her laugh and smile. I want to see what a real smile looks like on her face, not these artificial smiles that she's been giving to everyone. I want to see a real smile, a warm smile, not the one she just puts on for show. Whatever happened to her, I want her to forget about it. I'll do it myself if you're not willing to help me. It'd be a lot easier if I had help," Naruto said with determination that he wouldn't back down. "Naruto, even if what you're saying is true and that's what your intention is, there's no way you're going to make her laugh," she challenged. "You want to get bet on that?" Naruto asked her. "A bet? You want to make a bet? Are you sure you want to do that? What are we betting on?" Hanabi asked him, curious on what he's willing to put on the line. "I'll go without ramen whether I win or lose. If I win, I'll go without ramen for a month." Going without ramen would be torture for Naruto. She was impressed, though she had to test his resolve further and increase the stakes. "If you fail to make my sister laugh before the time limit, which is the end of the day before the Chunin exams, you will have to go without ramen for 2 years, she said, wondering if Naruto would really give up ramen for that long. "I would do it for 10 if it meant I could see her smile." Naruto challenged. Was he out of his mind? A decade? How much did he want to bet? "Don't be ridiculous. You're willing to bet a decade of no ramen if you fail to make her laugh. Why is it so damn important to you?" she asked him. "Because she's important to me and I want to see her smile. I don't want to see her sad anymore. I want to see what a smile that's real. That's my reasoning. I'll do a lifetime without ramen if it meant I could see her smile at least once," Naruto said, determined to make her laugh and smile. She can see in his eyes the determination, these feelings he has for her sister. They were deep, much deeper than that of a friend. She couldn't believe her eyes and ears when she was hearing the Naruto of 3 months ago would never do this. "She's important to you? In what way is she important to you? How do you feel about her?" Hanabi asked Naruto. "I don't know. I can't describe it. I feel stronger when she's around. My heart feels warm when I'm in her presence. I have butterflies in my stomach. I don't know what else I can say. I don't know what else I can describe. I just want to make her happy. What am I kidding? I'm just a boy." Hanabi was correct in her assessment from 2 days ago. Naruto did not simply have a crush on her sister. This was love in the pure sense. He doesn't know it yet and probably wouldn't for a while. She could help him, give him a better chance with her sister in the future by doing this. She wanted to test his resolve. How much did her sister truly mean to him? How worthy was he? She was determined to find out by his resolve what is he willing to give up to make her sister smile and laugh, something that she wants to see herself. What else would you be willing to give up to see her laugh and smile? Hanabi asked, testing him. Anything, he answered with no hesitation. Perhaps I do have some ideas, but they'll require you to go back to your roots. She smiled with mischief. Didn't you mean to pull a prank on the village? Naruto asked, surprised. Why not? There are certain people who make her angry, and she can't stand messing with them. She'd definitely be smiling if someone brought up that list. Hanabi thought about the list of people her sister hates and the kinds of people her sister hates. Naruto looked like he was indeed thought, then it clicked. It'll fuck with the people that she hates, thank you, Hanabi. Operation Make Hinata Sensei Smile commences now, it's an S-rank mission. Naruto said energetically and left Hanabi where she was. She wondered if it was a good idea to give him the advice she just did. She shrugged. If Naruto was serious, he would be someone she wouldn't mind calling brother in the future if he were to marry Hinata, that is if he succeeded in making her laugh and smile. That fucking brat, said one of the Jonin. Naruto was running for his life. The woman he had offended was one of the women Hinata could not tolerate. His skills, which he had picked up by dodging Abu as a child, were paying off. They couldn't catch him. I can't believe that his sensei would allow him to get away with this. I'm going to report him to the Hokage right away, said the woman, who was not pleased that Naruto had exposed her secret. He wondered how his sensei would react. He hoped it wouldn't be negative, as she hates that woman. He might have to hide from his sensei for a while, but it would be worth it if he could just see her smile and laugh just for once. Hinata was having a drink with Kakashi and Asuma. It was at the red light district, and she didn't like this place because it was cheap and away from nosy people. Hinata was currently wearing a gray long-sleeved shirt underneath a pink shirt, black pants underneath a long cream-colored skirt with pink horizontal stripes, and a pair of brown sandals. It wasn't anything special, it was kind of plain, but it did its job because she didn't want any attention from men who would stare at her lustfully. So, how are things going with you and Kurenai? Kakashi asked him. Oh, well, we haven't considered marriage yet. We don't want to rush it, after all. We just started dating, we kind of want to take it slow. Asuma answered. Enough about me, Hinata. How are things going between you and your sister? Asuma asked her. She lightly drank the sake. Unlike the last time when she came, she didn't chug it. It's a little difficult. I would be lying if I said it wasn't easy talking to her after all these years. The bitterness, these feelings doesn't go away. I don't like feeling this way, but I do. Am I a bad person? Kakashi-sensei and Asuma. Hinata asked them. She wanted answers. She felt like she didn't know what was the right thing to do to deal with these emotions. Hinata, the fact that you two are talking is an improvement, but I'm not going to tell you to let go of those kinds of emotions. They won't disappear overnight. I know how you feel. I felt that way about my father. Bitterness towards family members doesn't just go away overnight. It takes time. The fact that you are acknowledging this in the first place, at least in my opinion, shows that you're not a bad person. Asuma answered. Before they could indulge in their conversation any further, a woman barged into the bar they were in. Hinata turned around. It wasn't the woman she wanted to see, it was none other than Aki Animoto. She couldn't stand this woman. Why was she here? Your demon brat of a student is causing a fuss. Aki Animoto said with hatred in her voice. In what way is he causing a fuss? Hinata asked her, ignoring her as she took another sip of her sake. He exposed personal information about me publicly. I can never show my face again. The woman said angrily. Maybe you should stop sleeping with underage boys. Hinata said, not caring if she was pissing the woman off. How many people did you sleep with to get promoted? Aki asked angrily, trying to rile her up. Unlike you, I got promoted on my own merit. I didn't sleep with 12-year-old boys, I actually do my damn job. Hinata said, not caring that she was telling the public that her colleague was basically a pedophile. You fucking self-righteous bitch. I wouldn't be shocked if you slept with that demon. You're probably his whore. She wasn't taking the bait, she was obviously angry that Naruto had exposed her secret. Wow, so Naruto exposed that you're a predator, why should any of us care? Asked Kakashi, indifferent to the woman's problems. He didn't just do that. She showed pictures of Naruto defacing all of his colleagues. Asuma was laughing so hard along with Kakashi. You expect me to care? You're all a bunch of self-indulgent, worthless, self-important people. Hinata didn't get a chance to finish before the woman exploded. Your student has ruined my reputation, embarrassing both me and my colleagues. You are as much to blame. You're his teacher. She pointed her index finger, pointing her finger at her. You're a pedophile. I don't care about your reputation, go away. Hinata said dismissively, not caring. I guess you really will let your student get away with anything. You're probably sleeping with him, the woman said mockingly. Hinata put her drink down and got up from her chair and calmly approached the woman. You want to say that in my face? Hinata said, her voice deadly, her Byakugan activated. There's no need for this, the woman said nervously. You are throwing accusations against me that have no merit. I don't sleep with my students, they're all 13 years old for 1 and 2. I know the law, and 3. I'm not a sexual predator who preys on underage boys who don't have the mental maturity to know the consequences or have the ability to consent. I'm not like you. I'm nothing like you. If it weren't for your position as the daimyo's niece, I would have you thrown in the nearest prison and throw away the key. There's nobody I hate more than pedophiles. Hinata said with disgust. She went back to her friends, who were drinking, and resumed drinking. The woman attempted to insult her, but the bartender gave her a dirty look. My customers don't like it when people like you make disturbances. Get the hell out or I'll make you leave. I don't care who you are. The man said, not wanting to deal with her shit. I'll tell my uncle about this, he'll have your heads. She pointed at the bartender and Hinata. What are you going to tell your uncle? You go after little boys and sleep with them. That's not going to be a good look, especially on someone as honorable as our daimyo. No, he won't do anything. You'll leave, said Kakashi. The woman stomped out. Bitch, Hinata said, contentiously taking another sip of her sake. Are you really not going to discipline Naruto? Asked Asuma curiously. No, Naruto didn't do anything wrong by outing a pedophile. It's serving the community by making this information public. Now that it's out, parents will demand that she be removed from office. They may hate Naruto, but there's nothing that parents, especially those with ninja backgrounds, hate more than child molesters and sexual predators. Her career is over, but if I were the Hokage, she would be in prison. But nothing can be done about it, unfortunately, because of the civilian council. I wonder how many of them are pedophiles themselves. Hinata asked rhetorically. Far too many, said Kakashi. You have to admit it's kind of funny how much Naruto pissed those people off. Hinata couldn't help but comment. Though unfortunately, I can't laugh even though I'd like to, I can't. Hinata said sadly, her friends noticed. She took another sip, but they said nothing for the rest of the evening. Naruto waited for his sensei to walk away from her group before find out the success or failure of his mission. He saw Kakashi and Asuma, who were looking at him and smiling over what he had done. You caused quite a ruckus, Naruto. I don't disapprove of that. Asuma said with a smile. Did she laugh or smile? Naruto asked them, which caught them off guard. Wait, what? Kakashi asked, confused. Did sensei laugh or smile? Naruto asked again. No, Kakashi answered. Oh, Naruto looked down, hoping to make her laugh by exposing all the people she hated and making a fuss about it. Why do you want to make her laugh, if you don't mind me asking? Asuma asked curiously. I just want to see her smile. I want to see her laugh and not be sad all the time. Is that so bad? Naruto asked them. No, it's not. How far are you willing to go to make this happen? Kakashi asked him. I'd go 10 years without ramen if I fail. No, I'd go my entire life without ramen if I fail. That's how much it means to me. Asuma knew Naruto was serious. He had to know how far Naruto was willing to go and what Naruto's feelings were for his sensei. Naruto, we will not judge you. What are your feelings towards her? Asuma asked. She's important to me, the most important person in my life. I can't describe my feelings. I don't know if it's friendship or something else. The only thing I know for sure is I want to see her smile and laugh. I don't want to see her cry or be sad all the time. It's foolish, I know. I'm just a boy, I'm not even a man, and what I want is probably childish for her to smile for me, but that's what I want even if it's just once. I'd like to see her smile genuinely, not a fake smile, not a forced smile, but something that's real. Naruto said passionately. I'll be damned, Asuma thought. He lit another cigarette. Naruto is serious. I support you, Naruto. What's your time limit on this mission of yours? He asked him. 7 days, though 3 have passed. Tomorrow I will have only 4 days left. 4 days to figure out how to make her smile and laugh. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. Naruto said, looking down, feeling down for his failure. There is surely a way he can help Naruto, even if it's just a small one. I have a suggestion that would make her laugh, but you might get into trouble, he said with a smile. What do you mean, Asuma-sensei? Naruto asked, hopeful. I can get into trouble for this, but considering I see Hinata as a little sister, there is something I could suggest. However, you'll have to run for your life if you try it. He said, smiling at the thought of Naruto defacing the civilian council building. Well, I never got the idea from you, it's all mine. That'll be the official story if I'm caught. Naruto said with a boyish smile, putting his hands behind his head. Thank you, I do have another idea, but I'll only use it as a last resort. Thank you, sensei. I'll take what you said into consideration and use plan B. Naruto left Kakashi and Asuma. He looked at his friend and wondered what Kakashi was thinking. Are you sure it's a good idea to encourage him? Kakashi asked him. People in love do foolish things for those they love. Yeah, I'll support Naruto if he can make Hinata smile again, it'll be worth it to me. He said with conviction. Do you think he could cut through the darkness in her heart that she has built up over the years? You can't expect him to be able to do that, and even if he does, he's just a boy. Kakashi reminded him. He looked up at the sky as he took a cigarette out of his mouth. They said the same about Minato, and look what happened. Naruto is the result of their union. Everyone thought Minato was just a boy. Though like Minato, Naruto won't always be a boy, one day he'll be a man. Naruto is a boy who wants to be a man before his time. His love for his sensei is what's driving him to take such a risk. No one would do that if they weren't in love. Asuma said to Kakashi. Even if he succeeds, you don't think Hinata is going to fall in love with anyone again, do you? Kakashi asked him. I strongly believe that man will be Naruto one day, when he becomes a man, and if he can succeed in making that woman laugh and smile again, then he will have my blessing. I support them 100%, Asuma finishes his cigarette. Well, it's going to be a lot of paperwork. The Hokage won't be happy with Naruto doing this. Kakashi sighs and gives up. Regretting bidding against me, Kakashi. You're not getting cold feet, are you? Asuma asked. It's absolutely ridiculous. I have to work to do. See you later. Kakashi disappeared and left. The next morning, Hiruzen Sarutobi was looking at a line of people who were angry with him, most of them being members of the civilian council and all the incompetent people they had appointed. It was a long list. He looked at it with disgust. He wanted to jail most of these people because of the things they had done. He might as well do it, he was the Hokage after all. That damn brat has caused us trouble, he's exposed our secrets, said Akemi Anamoto, the niece of the daimyo. Unless you have something serious to discuss with me, I don't have time for this. You should be in prison, but luckily for you, you have the daimyo behind you. Otherwise, you would be in jail. He said, implying a threat. Of course, you'll defend that demon brat. How do we know Hinata isn't a pedophile? After all, she's from a clan of inbreds, said one of the Jonin angrily. Say one more word about Hinata, and I'll put you in one of those prisons where you'll never see the sunlight again. You're lucky Naruto hasn't exposed your secret. If he did, you would be killed by now. Hiruzen said, not really giving a damn about these narcissistic, self-important people. We demand action, said a woman in her 50s. Discipline in the demon brat, a man in his late 60s demanded. Make any more demands of me, and I'll throw you all in the slammer. I'm the Hokage now, you're wasting my time. When I have important paperwork to take care of, you better have something important to tell me or else I'll have you thrown out. He said coldly. They all recoiled, scattering like the wind. He would love nothing more than to put them in jail, but he couldn't, because there weren't enough people. Unfortunately, there were too many scum in the government, so Danzo defended these kinds of people and made him sick. There had been a ruckus yesterday, he couldn't help but smile on how angry those people were, their days were numbered. As soon as new leadership took hold, they would be gone, he knew that for sure. His top pick for someone to be his successor would be Tsunade, she wouldn't put up with any of these people. He was getting too old for this. When he was younger, he didn't allow these kinds of people, but with age, he grew exhausted and those that supported Danzo knew that. "I'll be damned, the kid is doing it," said Jiraiya as he entered his office from the window. "What is he doing?" Hiruzen asked, curious as he sorted through the paperwork he was currently working on. "He's trying to make Hinata laugh." He stopped doing what he was doing and then looked at his former student. "He's what?" Hiruzen asked, curious. "He's trying to make her laugh, but the first attempt failed. He's trying another way. Should we stop him?" Jiraiya is amused. "No, I've got better things to do. Let the good-for-nothings suffer, they deserve it," he said dismissively, not caring that Naruto was essentially making their lives hell for the next few days. "So what's the time limit on this mission of his?" asked Hiruzen as he took care of another pile of paperwork. 7 days, though he's on his 4th day. If he fails he will not have ramen for a decade. Jiraiya said in disbelief. "Wait a decade without ramen?" he asked curious. "What I was told by Kakashi Naruto was serious, he's determined to make her laugh even going an entire lifetime without ramen. I must say he's a lot like his parents, though more like his mother in temperament, his father, in his determination. Like father, like son." Jiraiya remembered when Minato declared that he would make Kushina smile for him. He was 16 at the time when he made that promise. "History is repeating itself, I'll be damned," Hiruzen said smiling. "You think he'll succeed?" Jiraiya asked him. "Naruto doesn't go back on his word. My decision to have Hinata be the sensei of Team 7, I can't help but think I played matchmaker in a way," Hiruzen said when he was thinking about when he did the same thing with Kushina and Minato when she was the sensei for him. "What I've seen from Naruto is that he is in love with Hinata and has been probably since he laid his eyes on her. It's rare that you see that kind of love from anyone, so I just hope he doesn't make the same mistake I made." "It wasn't your fault about what happened to her, Jiraiya," Hiruzen said seriously. "I can't help but think about her lately. I made the worst mistake of my life by not committing to her. She's gone, and all I have to show for it is a broken heart." He couldn't finish. He had rarely talked about the woman he had loved. She had died 13 years ago. 13 years she was the list of many failures of Jiraiya. It's why he was reluctant to accept being the 5th Hokage. "It's easy for you to say, Sensei, I said some stupid things, I hurt her. I made a mistake, I can never walk away from that. That's why I want Naruto not to make the same mistake I did." Jiraiya rarely spoke about her. When he did, it was usually with Sake. "Let's support Naruto in his efforts to make Hinata smile," Hiruzen said, changing the subject. "Yeah, let's do that." Jiraiya agreed. "That damn brat, the demon. I will get that fucker if it's the last thing I do," said one of the store owners whose entire shop was graffitied. "Kiss my ass," Naruto said, slapping his own butt and running, which startled some onlookers and even a few teammates who were with him during the Sapphire mission. "What the hell is going on?" asked Kiba. "Sorry, I have to go," Naruto said as he ran. "What the hell's going on?" asked Kagome, who was walking around the town square with Sasuke, who was also confused as to why Naruto was being chased by a bunch of shopkeepers. "He's trying to make my sister laugh," said a voice behind them. Kagome turned around. It was none other than Hanabi, with her team, who looked amused by all the chaos Naruto was causing. "He's what?" Sasuke asked confused. "He's trying to make you sensei laugh," Shino says as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. "Wait, what?" Kagome couldn't believe it. "He's willing to go without ramen for a decade, if not an entire lifetime, if he fails," Hanabi said almost in disbelief. "Naruto giving up ramen, has the world ended?" Sasuke said, not believing it. "Fools do crazy things for love, it seems." Kagome couldn't help but comment. "Does love, that's what he feels towards your sensei?" "Interesting," Kiba commented. It was obvious to everyone that he had a crush as soon as he laid eyes on her, but love is just ridiculous. She heard someone behind them. It was none other than Ino, whom she had barely spoken to since Sakura's death. "It's not ridiculous, I've been through the same thing. He's lucky to have a chance, unlike me," Kagome thought sadly when she thought of Sakura and her unsaid feelings towards her. "A chance, ridiculous, he's a boy. What, how old is he? Like 13, and Hinata, how old is she? 20? Shikamaru said, bored with this conversation. "She's actually 19, and Naruto won't always be a boy, he'll be a man just like all of you." Kagome pointed out to all the boys in the group. Do not forget that everyone in Minato's generation thought he had no chance with Kushina. The age gap was even bigger than Naruto and Hinata, it was at least by 10 years. Shino pointed out. It doesn't change the fact that it's literally night and day, and besides Hinata shows no interest in anyone even if give or take 5 years nor to become a man. I doubt Hinata would have him under her radar. It would be a little weird if you ask me. Ino pointed out to everyone the obvious problem with such a relationship should it happen. You do know when Minato and Kushina got together, they didn't see each other for almost 6 years. Yet nobody talks about how weird and problematic their relationship was. Sasuke pointed it out. That was a different time than today. Ino said in disagreement. Well, I support Naruto if he can make my sister smile again. He has my blessing as far as I'm concerned. Hanabi, being one of the only people who are openly supportive of a future relationship between the two, said. Well, I don't care about this love nonsense, it's too much trouble. Whatever, I want to stay out of it. I really don't want anything to do with girls, it's way too complicated for me. Shikamaru said he was bored with the conversation. We should cut this conversation short before my sister comes. Hanabi advised in a tone of voice that sounded like an admonishment. As if her words could summon Hinata, who appeared, looking disappointed that Naruto wasn't there. Then, behind them, a man approached Hinata, who looked angry. Are you the demon brat sensei? He asked angrily. Don't call him that, Hinata said, with a dangerous calm. Or, what are you going to do about it? Is he your fuckboy? This caused Hinata to lift the man up by his collar, and she spoke in the calmest but angriest voice that anyone had ever heard. Accuse me of being a pedophile again, and I'll make it so you'll never be able to have children. Is that clear? Hinata said in a voice as cold as ice. I'll remember this, I have a spot on the civilian council. The man said spitefully as he left. She couldn't help but notice that Hinata was struggling to smile. It was starting to form. She's even holding a laugh back. It was small, but she saw it. He may not have succeeded today, but Naruto at least cracked the walls that she had built, even if only a little. I'm going to have to talk with Naruto, Hinata said in a serious voice as she left the group, wondering how it would end. It looks like we're not going to train with our sensei today, Sasuke said, bored. Our sensei taught us to be able to take care of ourselves if she's not available to teach us, and we will just practice the lessons that she had taught us previously. Kagome said this as if it weren't a big deal. She looked in the direction of her sensei, Naruto, and wished him luck. Naruto has been doing his best to avoid Hinata despite everything she'd done for him. He wasn't going to fail. He had 1 day left. He didn't want to resort to what Asuma suggested, but he was out of options. It was drastic, but he was willing to do what he had to do to make her smile and laugh. There were 2 possibilities. He could vandalize the entrance to the Hyuga compound, which would piss off the elders, or he could vandalize it and then run, risking the ire of both the civilian council and the elders. Both options would be risky. You're really determined to make her laugh, aren't you? You could do it at any time. Are you really that determined to give up your favorite food? Kyuubi was impressed by his resolve. Yes, I'll do what is necessary because I want to see her laugh and smile. It's stupid and probably foolish, but I won't go back on my word. Naruto said to his companion. You're running out of options, Kit. What do you intend to do? Do you tend to vandalize the Hyuga compound or the civilian council? Either way, your options are limited, so what do you intend to do? Kyuubi asked Naruto. He thought about it. He didn't have enough time, he had less than a day left. He couldn't just choose one of the options and call it a day, he would have to do both. He had been dodging Hinata for days, and he didn't like hiding from her, but he was determined to make her laugh and smile even if it meant he would lose the ability to eat ramen for the rest of his life. Hinata hadn't used her Byakugan, which was fortunate for Naruto. But she would use it now. He was lucky that he had picked up the way to dodge the Abu when he was a child. It served him well, but even that had its limits. Hinata could spot him at any time with her Byakugan. He had to use it now. He created thousands of shadow clones, some calling him foolish for using so much chakra on a prank, but it didn't matter. He was determined to make her laugh and smile. If he failed, he would try again. Without ramen, what do you want us to do, boss? Asked one of his shadow clones, who was the closest to him. I want those on the left side to deface the entirety of the Hyuga compound, and those on the right. I want you to do the same to the Konoha Council, but I want you to do more than that. I want you to expose all their secrets for everyone to know. Dig up any dirt that you can find." Naruto informed them. "What are you going to do, boss?" asked one of the clones on the left. "I'm going to help those on the right deface." Naruto smiled mischievously. The clones dispersed, and Naruto went with his shadow clones. It would anger the Hyuga clan, but he didn't care. He was going to make Hinata laugh, or he would go the rest of his life without ramen. He wouldn't go back on his word. With determination, Naruto headed to his destination, the final gambit that had to pay off. He wouldn't know what to do if it failed. "That demon brat," said one of the Hyuga, a woman in her 50s. "Where is that daughter of yours?" asked Hiyashi's father. "That boy is out of control, and your daughter, despite being his student, is not keeping him under control," said his father. "It will take us all day and all night to remove all the paint. That damn boy." His wife, whom he married a few years ago, who is almost the same age as Hinata. "We should search for the demon brat and make an example of him," said one of the younger members of the elders, who were in their 30s, a woman who was angry that she had to clean up the mess Naruto had created. He did particularly, he felt they deserved everything they were getting. It should have been you who died. Hiyashi, no matter how many years have passed, the regret of those words never leaves him. He knows he is responsible for why his daughter hates him and refuses to call him father. It's why he hasn't said a word. He has no right to complain about everything he's been getting from everyone. He knew what Naruto was up to. Naruto was trying to make his daughter laugh and smile. The woman who resembles his late wife. He dares not mention her name. He lost the right to even mention her name out loud, because of how he treated his daughter. The hurtful words a father should never say to his child, he said it can't be taken back. Though he has to give off the impression that he is displeased, because that's what everyone would expect from him as a Hyuga head. "I will speak to Hinata personally," Hiyashi said, ending the murmurs of everyone who was angry over their precious compound being defaced. He would delay as long as possible, it being his way of helping his daughter and helping Naruto, the boy who cuts through the darkness and the ice that she has built around her since the day Itachi Uchiha ripped her heart from her chest and broke it into 1,000 pieces. If Naruto could successfully make his daughter laugh again and smile, he would give the boy his full blessing if he married her one day. Though it was unlikely, but then again, that's what everyone said about Minato and Kushina. "That fucking brat, I swear we'll get that little shit this time," said one of the members of the civilian council. "Kiss my ass, you have to catch me, assuming you can find out who the real me is," Naruto said with a smile, angering a middle-aged woman. "You'll come back here, you fucker," said the man who had tackled Naruto down, only to realize it was a shadow clone. "Wow, so many of you are pedophiles. Disgusting," said one of the clones. They couldn't let their secrets get out in front of the Konoha public, as such, they would never be respected again. They took out their pitchforks and weren't going to let Naruto get away. If they were going to keep their secrets by any means necessary, even if they had to kill the demon brat, the son of the fourth Hokage, be damned. The man whose name was Ken was running as fast as his legs would take him, but Naruto, which was spreading the information like wildfire, was. "What the fuck are you kidding me?" said a man who looked at Ken with disgust. "My kid goes to the same school as yours. You're a sick bastard," said a woman, whose kids were 3. "How many people in your circle are pedophiles? I don't want my kid going to the academy if people like you are running it," said a woman, who was holding her newborn baby. "It's all lies, the demon brat," he was silenced by a ninja chop from a man in his mid-40s. "My daughter goes to the same school as you sick fuck. I'm reporting this to the Hokage. You bastard." He was getting assaulted by everyone, he was so pissed off. The records, how stupid was he to keep track of everything he did? He would get that kid someday, he swears it. There was chaos throughout the village. News of the civilian council being full of pedophiles spread like wildfire. Parents went to the Hokage's office demanding for them all to be removed. Hiruzen wished Naruto wouldn't do such a thing at such a time, with so much paperwork, and Hinata was looking at the line of parents who were angry at the civilian council, which were basically pedophiles. "I will withdraw my child from the academy if those people aren't kicked out of the council immediately," said a woman who had at least 2 children in the academy. Hinata couldn't blame this woman for being angry, she would be too if she were a mother. That demon brat exposed secrets, which are confidential. You're not going to do anything? Aki asked, and the parents looked at her with contempt. I may not like Naruto Uzumaki, but he's exposing secrets of predators like you. He has my respect, at least he's looking after our kids, unlike you sick fuck, said a woman whose son was in a relationship with her. Not my problem, maybe you shouldn't have been preying on kids. Hinata said as if reading the woman's thoughts. You will, though, have to talk to Naruto. He's been causing a disturbance, even if he's been doing a great service for our village. Hiruzen said with an evil smile on his face. The things he would love to do to everyone in the civilian council whose secrets were exposed. It's unfortunate, not all of them were exposed, but the ones that weren't were still put on notice. She ignored the angry glares of the members of the council when she was out of earshot. When she was out of sight, she tried hard not to fall down on the floor laughing. It was difficult. It was extremely hard. When she was outside, she saw the elders of her clan who were angry at her, but that didn't stop her from holding in her laughter. It was difficult. Your father wants to talk to you after you do your job and discipline your student, said her stepmother in a cold and detached manner. Hinata activated her Byakugan and saw that Naruto had stopped moving. He was at their sacred spot, but why was he there? It didn't matter, she had to talk to him one way or another, even if she was trying to hold back her laughter, she had to maintain discipline. She left without looking back, ignoring the hateful glares and their hateful whispers. It didn't matter to her, she couldn't fall down and laugh in front of everyone. She would have to discipline Naruto, although what he did was a good service for the village. She has to do as his sensei discipline. He had violated many rules in the past week, she couldn't let it stand. Naruto had done everything he had done, running. Whatever happened, he would accept the consequences. He had spread the information that he had found. He couldn't believe they would keep records of what they did. It disgusted Naruto. It would make their lives a hell, and to him, that was good enough. No parent would want their children to go to an academy run by predators. It was perfect. The Hyuga clan was in chaos, but it wouldn't matter if Hinata didn't laugh. He heard footsteps and saw that it was Hinata. He could tell that she was trying to hold something back. No, he couldn't fail. He'd make her laugh. He was almost there. He could see a genuine smile on her face. Struggling to form, he had to break through the ice. He had to cut through the darkness. He didn't care about the ramen, what mattered was Hinata smiling, that's all that mattered. You've been causing a lot of mayhem, I can't let that go unpunished, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, struggling not to laugh. I know that I knew what the price would be if I failed, Naruto replied. What are you talking about? Hinata asked him. I did this so that I could see you laugh and smile, Naruto answered. Hinata didn't know how to respond, but he noticed something forming on her face. It was a warm smile, a happy smile, and she was struggling to stand up. She was laughing. She couldn't inform any words she couldn't even say, she was laughing so hard he couldn't believe it. He had made her laugh, but all he said was, he did this to make her laugh. Why was this funny? She was holding back laughter, idiot. Kyuubi answered. Those people, she continued to laugh, she couldn't even speak. It was so hard for her to speak. He was starting to see tears, but they weren't tears of sadness. She was laughing so hard that she was crying. She was on her back, holding her stomach, she was laughing so hard. Naruto was laughing too, he loved that laugh. He loved her smile, the real smile, not the one he saw when he first saw her, which was fake. It was so beautiful that he felt his heart beating. This was the woman he wanted to protect. He thought about the words Haku had told him during the Land of Waves mission. Hinata wasn't just his sensei, she was much more than that. He didn't know what this feeling was, but he didn't fight it. Whatever it was, he wasn't worthy. He was only a boy until he became a man. Not just physically, but mentally as well. And was able to protect her. He couldn't tell her. These feelings are love, boy. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't fight it, but you are right to think the way you do. You are a boy, she will not acknowledge you as a man until you are mentally mature enough to be one. And when you're old enough, until you can protect this woman with your own power, you are not worthy of her. Kyuubi answered what Naruto was thinking. Was it love that he felt towards Hinata? He was still seeing her laugh, She wasn't stopping, and the scene continued on for a few more minutes until she stopped and gained more control of herself. The smile she had earlier changed to a serious expression. Naruto, as your sensei, I do have to discipline you for what you have done. Even if I approve of you exposing predators, you did other things that disturbed the lives of the people in the village. Even if I agree with what you did to some extent, I still have to discipline you. Naruto was prepared, and the way she said it was with reluctance. She didn't want to, but she had to, because that was their relationship. He dared not think about them as anything more than friends, teacher, and student. It would never happen. He didn't even indulge in the thought of him having a 7 chance in hell of ever being in her heart. That wasn't his priority, it was to make her smile and to make her laugh. He succeeded, so he would accept any punishment. It would be worth it to him. I'll accept any punishment, sensei. I was prepared for the consequences, either success or failure, to make you laugh and smile. I'm okay with any punishment you give me, Naruto said, which surprised Hinata. Why was it important to make me laugh or smile? Hinata asked him, generally wanting to know. Because I don't like seeing you sad, I hate it. I want to see what a genuine smile looks like, not a fake smile that you do for appearances, but a real smile. I wanted to make you laugh as well. It's stupid, I know, but I don't like it when you're sad, even if it's in a small way. I want to do something to help you. You've done so much for me, I want to do something for you in return. The revelation that he was told by Kyuubi that he was in love with Hinata. He couldn't tell her he wasn't strong enough to protect her, nor was he a man. In his eyes, he doesn't have a chance with her as he is now. It was at this moment that he wished he were a man, not a boy. He buried his feelings deep inside, refusing to let this be about him. It was about her. That was the whole reason he had the operation in the first place, and to risk losing the ability to eat ramen forever. To give up what he loves the most when it comes to food was him showing himself how determined he was to make his most precious person laugh even once. You didn't have to go that far, Naruto-kun. I appreciate it. However, I should discipline you, and I don't think I should do this because I'm your teacher. I'll overlook this once, but I can't have you doing this again. Naruto was surprised that Hinata was willing to let him off. No, he knew something, she was likely to do a different kind of punishment. You won't have ramen for a month, Hinata announced, which Naruto was going to do anyway, but he wouldn't tell Hinata that he wasn't going to undermine her authority. Another thing, the power dynamic between their ranks is another obstacle. No, he would tell her when he achieved the same rank as she is now, and when he is a man. That was his promise to himself, and when he was strong enough to protect her as well. When he was old enough, he would tell her. Right now, he would keep it to himself. Him and Kyuubi were the only ones who knew. Little did Naruto know that wasn't true. Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai witnessed everything. She couldn't help but smile. Kurenai hadn't seen Hinata laugh or smile since the day Itachi broke her heart. It felt good seeing that side of her that she had thought was gone forever. The darkness that engulfed Hinata was still there, though it was dimmer the walls that she had built around herself. Naruto had changed, things she was glad that their teams were switched. It would never happen like this if she was on Team 8 instead of Team 7. Well, we did everything we could to help him, said Asuma, who was watching the scene unfold. It looks like you owe me, Kakashi, Asuma said triumphantly. Kakashi reluctantly gave him the money they had agreed upon. It almost felt like a shining light was shining on Hinata when she laughed, as if the gods were blessing her with their light. She never thought it would ever happen, even before the Uchiha clan massacre. Itachi Uchiha was never able to make Hinata laugh to this extent. Naruto is someone special, the seeds have been planted, and it would take time, possibly years, for it to fully materialize. Kurenai could see in 5 to 6 years from now Hinata falling in love with Naruto. The seeds were already planted. This was the same thing that had happened when Minato made Kushina laugh for the first time. History was repeating itself, neither one of them were aware of it. I think we will let time take its course, Kakashi said as if reading her mind. Agreed, with some help from us, Naruto had succeeded in his operation. The first time she's smiled since that bastard broke her heart. If only Naruto were 5 to 6 years older. Kurenai said aloud. Give it some time, the seed has already been planted, and it will sprout in due course. Things like love cannot be rushed, especially when someone whose heart was broken like Hinata. She isn't ready yet, and Naruto is a boy. I don't see anything developing between them until Naruto is at least 18 at the earliest. Asuma said as if he were saying something obvious. Well, either way, we should get going. Your students will be taking the exams soon, and things will get really hectic in the next few months. Kakashi said. She took one last look at Hinata and Naruto, and then turned her back. Her focus was on the upcoming exams. This would be the last peaceful moment before the Chunin exams. Hanabi noticed something different about Hinata. They were alone, talking about what had been going on for the past few days. Her sister had a real smile on her face. It was Naruto's doing. He had succeeded in making her sister laugh. You should smile more, big sis. Hanabi said this to her sister, generally meaning it. I don't know what you're talking about. Hinata said, denying what was obviously on her face. Well, he succeeded, I'll be damned. Hanabi said out loudly, not realizing she had revealed something she shouldn't. What are you talking about, Hanabi? Hinata asked suspiciously. Shit, she said aloud, realizing she couldn't lie herself out of this one. She couldn't reveal too much. Let's just say that if Naruto can make you laugh and smile, he has to go a month without ramen, and if he fails, he has to go the rest of his life without ramen. Her answer caught Hinata off guard. I see, Hinata didn't know how to respond. So you're disciplining him, something he was going to do anyway, right? Hanabi asked her older sister. I just didn't think it meant so much. I don't know why it matters, she confessed. Her sister was completely clueless about Naruto's feelings for her, though it would be for the best for now, after all. The age gap of 6 years separated them. Naruto was 13 and her sister was 19. The seed that Naruto had planted when he made her laugh earlier today wouldn't sprout until 5 or 6 years from now. She would let it grow naturally. Her sister isn't completely over what happened with her previous love. She doesn't know who it was, but she suspects it was Itachi Uchiha. Until she has completely moved on, it wouldn't be healthy for anyone if Hinata were involved in a relationship. It was the last thing she needed at the moment. What she needed was time to heal. Naruto helped with that process by breaking down the wall that had been built between her and her sister for all those years. She was grateful to Naruto, as he had done so much in such a short amount of time. Soon, we won't be able to have such peaceful times as these. The Chunin exams are coming. The eye before the storm. I don't know why big sister feels like things are going to change and I don't know in what way. Hanabi said, feeling a sense of dread. I felt nervous like you, when I took the Chunin exams. You'll get through it. I have full faith in you. Hinata said with confidence that Hanabi herself did not feel. I don't know, but I know I'll have to face Neji at some point. She said, thinking about her cousin who's been estranged from their family ever since the death of their uncle. The conflict between the main branch and the branch houses was going to come to a head, she knew it would. Tensions between the two branches had been building for years. I wish I could say words of comfort, but I can't. She knew exactly what she meant. They were trying to avoid the elephant in the room. Whether her sister likes it or not, she is the Byakugan princess. But she cannot tell her sister that she has been denying her heritage for a long time. I know you don't want to hear about this, big sister, but you and I together can help reform the clan and bring back its honor. Not just any honor, but actual honor, the kind of honor our clan had prior to Natsu introducing the barbaric seal that we now have. Hinata tensed when she heard Natsu mentioned was the most hated Hyuga who ever lived. He was the brother of Kana, the most powerful Hyuga to have ever lived. Not much is known about her, except that she lived longer than an average human. However, that's not something Hanabi believes. But what was accepted if the legends were true, she was the last Byakugan queen. Though that was centuries ago, it was said that she had lived 300 years before the founding of Konoha. And she doesn't believe that's even possible. The clan is beyond saving. Hanabi it's stuck in its ways, and it's never going to change. Hinata didn't budge on how she felt about the clan. It won't change if we don't do anything to make it change. Our clan used to be strong, but now we are just a shell. At one point, we rivaled the Uchiha clan. How did a clan like us become so weak? If we don't change, we will go the way of the Uchiha clan. Hinata looked at her, understanding as if she could read what she was thinking without saying anything. What do you propose we do, sister? To change the clan, something radical would have to be done, and those who stand in the way would have to be dealt with harshly. Are you willing to risk a civil war? Hinata asked Hanabi. She didn't think it was an option. I don't know, I feel like things are not that simple once you become a shinobi. The world seems to be far more complicated. It's so much easier to say you want to change things when you have a goal of changing things, but when you get into a position of power, things are not that simple. You want to be the Hokage, what you want to do is as radical as what I would like to do to the Hyuga clan. How are we different, sister? Hanabi asked Hinata. I didn't realize how similar our goals were. I'm sorry, Hanabi. I let my bitterness and anger cloud my judgment. I didn't even consider what your dreams might be. Hinata said sadly about her lack of involvement in her life. Let's talk about something else. We can continue this conversation another day. Let's relax until tomorrow, Hanabi said, which caused her sister's face to soften. Yes, let's do just that, Hinata said, continuing their conversation about everything and anything related to the village rumors, trying to keep her mind off of what was going to start the next day. Things would change little, the inhabitants of Konoha would know what that change entails. Chapter 14 The start of the Chunin exams and Hinata's decision. Sai was being summoned. He wouldn't be summoned by Danzo without reason. He bowed respectfully to the man who had taken him in when he was a child, raised with the values of Root, an organization that does what is necessary to secure the safety of the village. There was a woman by his side who wore a mask. He recognized her only too well, but he dared not say any more words than necessary. He looked at his side. There were two others. One was a woman with long purple hair, and the other was a man about 17 or 18 years old, though it was hard to tell. Do you know why you've been summoned? Danzo asked them. It has to do with the carrier of the Kyuubi and the Uchiha. Do you want us to keep an eye on them? The soft-spoken girl asked him. Yes, Hako, Tanuki said eagerly. Sai didn't lift his head. The pale-skinned boy didn't dare make eye contact with Danzo due to his training. Your mission is to keep tabs on them, to not do any engagement. Do not draw attention. Reconnaissance is the main priority. Do not engage unless it is absolutely necessary. Sai didn't expect to be assigned to the Chunin exams. Your will be done. The three youths left. Sai was intrigued by the exams. He was interested in meeting this Naruto Uzumaki, just who he is, he exactly. Sasuke was another matter entirely. Sai was given specific orders to eliminate him should the opportunity and the need arise. Finally, all the pieces are coming together. We will finally get rid of that fool who currently runs our village. Tanuki said with contempt. Despite emotions being discouraged, it was nearly impossible to get rid of them altogether. He looked at Tanuki's girlfriend, Hako. Despite relationships like theirs being discouraged, it didn't stop them. This contradiction perplexed him. Why would Danzo allow such attachments? It didn't interfere with their work, he supposed, but emotions is a concept that is foreign to Sai. He doesn't think much of it because he has a mission to do. The contradictions that he sees in front of him are irrelevant compared to the mission. Danzo was pleased he would get his eyes in the Chunin exams. Everything was going according to plan. Now there was another matter he had to deal with entirely. Zero, I have a mission for you of almost importance. The redhead woman looked at him with the fox mask. He had trained her to be obedient. He had done it well. The years that he had worked, the years that he had put her in suspended animation, only when he acquired what he needed to control her it paid off. She is a powerful weapon that is under his control. You are to keep an eye on Hinata Hyuga and eliminate her when given the first opportunity. She bowed. It will be done. She left him alone. He looked at the table. All the pieces were in place. He was very close. He could almost taste victory. He had spent 40 years for this moment. Patience is what will lead him to ultimate victory, and he could toss the foolish will of fire into the dustbin of history and bring Konoha to true prosperity. Momo was at the gates of Konoha. She was given a task by Kana to keep an eye on Sasuke. She had never been to Konoha in her life. She had been trained extensively by her mother's followers. Her long brown hair was down to her shoulders. What was expected of people in the order was to wear modest clothing, especially women. They believed women shouldn't show more skin than necessary. She didn't care about that sort of thing. She just didn't want the attention that men would give her because she looked older than she was. There was something about this village, the rot. She could feel it in the air. How can anyone stand it? The amount of evil she felt in the air disgusted her. Looking around her, the so-called will of fire seemed even more disgusting. The more she saw, the more disgusted she became. When she looked at the lands surrounding the land of fire, she realized how many people's lives had been ruined and destroyed. How many orphans were there because of the wars that this village enabled. She would give anything to wipe this village off the face of the earth. It disgusted her to look at the Hokage monument. Everything that was wrong with this world could be summed up by those symbols. This village condemned Kana. They erased her from history, even though she was essential to its existence. She was treated as the worst villain of all time, even though she sought to bring peace, and what she got was betrayal by her friends. She made sure to cover herself in the shadows. She saw Sasuke and followed him. She saw him visiting a grave, the mass grave of the Uchiha. What a joke. What would this boy do if he found out his own village killed his entire clan and his brother helped them do it? She was tempted to tell him the truth, but then again, she's a stranger, he wouldn't believe her. Plus, her instructions were to keep an eye on Sasuke and not take unnecessary risks. There was nothing special about Momo. She wasn't born from any clan. She doesn't remember her origins, but it didn't matter when she was old enough to talk and walk. The only mother she ever knew was Kana, the mother of all she loved. Children don't matter where they come from. She would do anything for her, even die for her. Her devotion was the main reason she was on this mission. She quickly got out of the way to make sure she wouldn't get detected by Sasuke, who walked past her. He looked as if he knew someone was watching him but couldn't figure out what or who. She sighed in relief, thinking carelessly. She couldn't afford to be found yet. After Sasuke left, she noticed that there were 3 people coming and she knew which village they were from, so they must be the Sand siblings. The Chunin exams were approaching. It would be child's play to get past all of these so-called ninjas. Her skills in genjutsu would deceive their defenses and allow her to hide in plain sight among the instructors. It was so easy. Though she had to keep her distance from Hinata, who could see through her with her Byakugan, she had been taught countermeasures for even that. Keeping her distance, she wouldn't fail her mother, as she's her most trusted child. She won't and can't fail. Hinata was summoned again, this time by the elders. Just what did they want? She was expected to meet up with her team, and a decision had to be made, either allow her team to take the Chunin exam or not. She had thought about it after her failure with Sakura months before, and how she almost killed Naruto when she was under the influence of a genjutsu during the Sapphire mission. What was it that they wanted to talk about, or was it about reconciling with Hanabi? In any case, she wanted to get it over with. She had no time for her clan's political games. She didn't want anything to do with it. She entered the room and saw the usual suspects, people she couldn't stand, those who harshly judged her as a child, beat her, ridiculed her, nearly destroying her self-confidence. She knew what the conversation was going to be about and didn't want to waste her time. Do you know why we summoned you here? A man by the name of Santo. Yes, and my answer is going to be the same as it was before. I'm not going to marry anyone. She said without flinching. She wasn't going to allow these people to control her life. You dare disrespect one of your elders, said a woman in her 70s, with completely white hair, who was wearing the traditional kimono expected of the elders of the clan. This foolish dream of yours, to become the Hokage, doesn't benefit our clan in any significant way. We are here to tell you to stop this foolishness. Another man named Yamamoto said, it's not foolishness, it would look good on the clan if one of our own became Hokage, but you're too arrogant and stuck in your ways to see it. Hinata said, not caring that she disrespects the elders of the clan. Do you have no respect for our traditions or our history, girl? Her father asked. What traditions? Oh, you mean the honorable tradition of a caste system that separates our family into 2, one member of the clan being part of a separate class entirely. She said with contempt. The birdcage seal has protected our clan for generations. The same woman from earlier rebuked. It's a disgusting tradition that has done nothing but divide the clan. I reject it entirely. You claim to be protecting our clan, but all I see are a bunch of stuck-up good-for-nothings who have never set foot outside of Konoha. Only a few of you have done so. Hinata said, not caring whether it angered the elders or her father. How dare you, girl? You dare disrespect us. The same woman who rebuked her earlier, who was known as Kokomo. I'll say what I wish to say. I know you've never set foot outside of Konoha your entire life. An interesting someone so old, yet you are such a ignorant fool who has never seen the benefits of combining different techniques with the gentle fist. Hinata replied with a look of arrogance but with the confidence to back it up. You speak to the honorary Kokomo, who has been advisor to your father and grandfather. You dare disrespect her, said Yamamoto, disgusted that Hinata didn't conform to their dogma. There are many ways I can demonstrate how much our clan has stagnated over the years. I could show you how much more effective it is to combine our chakra natures with the gentle fist, which I can demonstrate with complete confidence that none of you here could defeat me. There was a loud uproar over what Hinata had just said. You arrogant girl, said her grandfather. Wipe that arrogant look off her face, said Santo, displeased that Hinata was standing up for herself in a way that even members of the branch house were watching her, even their leaders were there. Her stepmother, whose name is Yui, looked at her with hatred. She had always resented Hinata. They were almost the same age. She was 20 years old, only a few months older than Hinata. She was her fourth or fifth cousin, but it was dubious due to her having Uzumaki ancestry. It was debated if it was truly a union that was acceptable. It barely passed because she wasn't a pure-blooded Hyuga. She was powerful, there was no doubt about it. Her chakra capacity, due to her Uzumaki blood, gave her an edge over her peers in terms of chakra. But she wouldn't take advantage of it because of her insistence on clinging to stagnant traditions. By blood, she was Hinata's fifth cousin, but it didn't matter to Hinata. She hated the woman. She was everything that Hinata hated about her clan. Vain, arrogant, though unlike the elders, she at least actually had left Konoha. She was the same height as Hinata, her hair down to her shoulders. It was unusual for someone in the Hyuga clan to have red hair, which mostly had to do with her Uzumaki ancestry. Though the Hyuga features took precedence over the Uzumaki ones. Her body type was slender, she wore the typical kimono of the Hyuga clan. Another thing that stood out about her was her eyes, which had no pupils. The main difference was that it was unlike Hinata's lavender eyes, hers were red. Her eyes were the main reason why she acted the way she did toward other members of the clan. If she weren't her father's second wife, she wouldn't have been anywhere near the rank she is now. She would have been part of the branch house. Although she hates the woman, she does pity her to some extent because the clan looks down on her and judges her based on superficial things like appearance. She would be ignorant to believe that she wasn't skilled in the gentle fist. If things were different, she could have been the head of the clan in a different era. She was one of those prodigies who were born too late. Are you really going to tolerate your daughter's disrespect? This makes you look weak. Yui said to her husband in disgust, from her point of view, showing weakness. If you view me pointing out obvious flaws of the clan as disrespect, maybe that says more about the clan than me. Unless you're willing to prove it in our clan's sacred tradition of combat, if you're not willing to do that, I suggest you be silent. Hinata spoke, treating Yui like she didn't exist. How dare she? Hinata's father couldn't hold her back. Yui pointed to Hinata. Your father is too soft on you in every sense of the word, you're a failure. On your first mission as Jonin, you failed one of your students who died. A girl with a promising future is dead. If she had been my student, she would still be alive, said Yui contemptuously. The reminder of her failure, Hinata couldn't rebuke what she said, though she couldn't show that her words affected her. Hinata refuses to show weakness. You know as well as I do how anything can happen on missions. Using the death of one of my students won't help you like you think it will to prove your point about me. Hinata replied coldly. I'm fully aware of what can happen on a mission. Don't insult me, you arrogant child. Yui replied in anger. You are only a few months older than me. If I'm a child, then so are you. Hinata replied sharply. I'm going to wipe that arrogant look off your face right now. I challenge you to a duel, Haraga Kai. Yui said without hesitation. Nobody challenges anyone to a duel except they're prepared for the consequences of losing. If Hinata turns down her offer, it not only stains her honor but also legitimizes what the elders think about her. The conditions could be anything from the loser being casted to the branch house exile or death. It heavily depended on the situation. Very few people initiate a Haraga Kai, unless something is at stake. Yui obviously has something at stake for her to initiate such a challenge, she wouldn't do so otherwise. Hinata knows many things about her stepmother, she is arrogant with the confidence to back it up. Yui is intelligent and skilled in the gentle fist, almost on par with Hinata. The elders, despite being foolish, would never admit that the head's wife is stronger than the current head of the clan. She is the only member of the clan who could give her any sort of fight. The only other person who could give her a good fight would be Neji and Hanabi. Are you sure you want to take this challenge? You know the consequences of losing. Hinata warned. Anything to knock you down a peg, arrogant girl. You've been disgracing our clan long enough, especially with your recent promotion. Yui replied back as if she felt insulted that Hinata was asking her such an obvious question. Nothing was said as the two combatants got into the ring. It was at center, and everyone was watching. Hinata hasn't done a duel like this in many years. She was competent, she would win. This woman wasn't at her level. She was sure of that. You assume many things, Hinata. You know nothing about me, nor do you know anything about my skills. Do you think because you have beaten me 5 years ago, we're at the same level? The woman asked challengingly as they walked around the arena, waiting for one of them to make the first move. I know you're skilled in the gentle fist, I'd be a fool not to see that, but I also know based on my experiences, you can't defeat me. I suggest you withdraw and save yourself from further humiliation. Hinata said, not caring how it came off. You look down on me, just like everyone else here, because I'm a half-blood. The woman said, barely able to keep her composure. This wasn't like a Hyuga, it was a personal vendetta she had against Hinata. I don't look down on your projecting. Hinata rebuked. Oh, yes, poor me, poor little me. You, spoiled princess, unlike you, I worked hard for everything I have. In spite of not being a full-blood Hyuga, I have earned my place. I've worked hard for everything I have, unlike you who's had everything handed to them at a silver platter. I wasn't fortunate to be born and grow up in luxury or having the ability to give such a thing up. You know nothing about me, girl, and I will continue to call you that because you are ignorant and arrogant. I know our clan's traditions, I've studied them thoroughly, and unlike you, I respect them. The way she said it was not too convincing. Are you trying to convince me, or yourself? Hinata asked herself as she was about to get into her stance. She had enough with words. She got into her own stance, unlike Hinata's, who was in a more traditional Hyuga clan stance. No more words were spoken between the two women. The atmosphere was quiet, tense. Onlookers wondered who would make the first move and who would win. Hinata couldn't afford to be careless. This woman wasn't weak by any means. One of the few who could give her a fight, and she could lose if she became careless. Unlike Hinata, Yui didn't wait for the first one to be made, she attacked her. Hinata was barely able to dodge. She was far faster than she had been before when they sparred 5 years prior. Her hands went into a claw-like position, and the elders looked at her in surprise. Hinata dodged, barely able to escape the slashes from what looked like a fighting style she had created on her own. She looked and saw part of her clothes cut. This was a different variation of the gentle fist. It couldn't be, this style was forbidden, but she was using it. So you're familiar with this style, the lion fist, or what ignorant onlookers would call it, the cruel fist. It's a variation of the gentle fist that has been lost to time. I have studied it thoroughly. Like I told you, you know nothing about me. She attacked her again, this time faster. She was a lot faster than before. Hinata barely managed to dodge, she missed by centimeters. She wasn't looking to defeat Hinata, she wanted to completely dominate her and destroy her, proving once and for all that she was the top dog among the women of the clan. Hinata had to move faster with her own style, she was barely able to keep up. She did a rotation around the water surrounding her, which knocked Yui back. It would have ended any other duel, but she managed to land gracefully on the ground. She had a look of determination. She changed her stance again. Her hands were in claw formation. She went on again, this time faster than before. Hinata moved smoothly and fluidly, not holding back at all. It couldn't be, she thought. It was her own equivalent of the 1/8 trigram 64 palms, but unlike the traditional gentle fist, Hinata was familiar with them being blades everywhere. Hinata used her own variant, but a more defensive one using the rotation jutsu she learned in lightning rotation, which caused everyone to gasp. The lightning hit Yui Hinata, who didn't give her any time to recover. She was about to hit her in the chest, but the woman faded behind her. Hinata barely managed to block what could have been a lethal blow. She was about to strike at her opponent's neck, but she didn't mean to severely injure them. She jumped back to her side of the ring. Hinata was breathing heavily. This woman is stronger than anyone she has faced in her missions. If this were a death match, it could go either way. She wanted to end the fight and go on with her day. Two lions appeared on her fist, shocking everyone. This was the first time she ever showed off this technique to her clan. Yui calmly closed her eyes, and a blood-red lion appeared on her fist. This was impossible, she thought. She wasn't the Byakugan princess. You're so prideful that you thought you were the only Hyuga who had the ability to learn this technique. You're such an ignorant and arrogant fool. The woman enjoyed the look on Hinata's face of sheer shock. Hinata couldn't let her shock show. She got into her stance, her blue lion face versus Yui's red. The two clashed, sending a shockwave throughout the compound. This woman's lion fist was driving Hinata back. Nobody had ever given her this much trouble with her own technique. Not so smug now, are you, little princess? Yui said mockingly. Hinata didn't take the bait, unlike Hinata's style with the lion fist. Her opponents attacked her with claws. She barely was able to dodge as part of the wood in the surrounding area was cut. Hinata couldn't believe her eyes. Hinata was on the defensive. She had to come up with a plan to counter, but this woman wouldn't allow her to. She wasn't giving her any time to come up with a counter strategy. She was out for blood. She wanted Hinata dead. She could feel the killing intent from her. She had to use this technique, even if it wasn't a technique she wanted to use openly. She would not be able to get out of this battle without severe injuries otherwise. Lightning appeared in her fist, part of the garden was catching fire, and the two fists clashed. Another shockwave knocked everyone down. Neither one of the combatants would back down. Hinata barely pushed her opponent back. Both of them gave their all, but one thing Hinata couldn't fight was the curse mark. It was starting to take hold of her. She couldn't let that happen, not here. The elders looked concerned, knowing the power of the gentle fist. If this battle continued, the compound could be destroyed in the process. Not only that, it could kill everyone. The power between Hinata and Yui was close. Enough, said her grandfather with a strained voice. Consider yourself lucky, Hinata. Yui said with hatred and resentment. She disengaged and went to her husband's side. Everyone was shocked that Hinata and Yui were both able to use a technique that only the Byakugan princess could use. It wasn't possible, though she couldn't be. She had so many questions, but she had no time to ask them because her father broke the silence. I have been lenient towards you up until this point, but now that I should cast you into the branch house. Not only are you no longer my heir, but I have a far more suitable successor. By all rights, I should give you the birdcage seal. Her father said with a deadly calm. It was nothing more than an empty threat, as much as they would want to her father, especially they couldn't give her the seal. You know the laws as well as I do, Hiyashi-sama, about giving the bird cage sealed to adults after the age of 16. Is our clan about following the laws, or is that nothing more than empty words, just like our honor is empty? Hinata challenged this, which angered the elders by her calling out the empty honor of the clan and the assurance to their laws. Our laws are sacred. No outsider can interfere, not even the village, said her grandfather. Hinata smiled. Article 564 clearly states that no law in any clan can supersede the laws of Konoha. Therefore, the laws in your clan do not supersede those of the village. If you try to seal me, you would violate Article 126, which forbids the sealing of an active ninja and a Jonin, especially without the consent of the Hokage. She took great pleasure in her grandfather's and the elders' complete ignorance of the laws of Konoha. Her father knew the laws well. He was required to be a Jonin. Her grandfather, as arrogant as he is, knew nothing because he had never left the village and had servants to do everything for him. The only laws that were valid in the elders' eyes were those of the clan. Her father spoke before the elders, and her grandfather said nothing foolish that would further expose the ignorance of the clan for all to see. Be that as it may, you know our laws, but you know this: you are the eldest, you are obligated to follow your duty. You know those laws better than anyone, you studied them thoroughly. You also know that you must get married before you turn 20. These are also in our laws. Even if you are not my heir, you cannot walk away from that. Her father replied, reminding her of the law that a daughter of the head of the clan is required to marry. Again, I must remind you of the law. Article 65 forbids the clan from interfering in matters that compromise the village. A marriage would force me to resign, which would compromise the village in my role. I willingly gave up the position because I wanted to go my own way. Must I cite every article until the sun goes down? I know the laws of the clan and of this village, there is nothing you can do to force me to do what you want. Hinata said, on the verge of losing her patience. I have studied the same laws as you, girl. If I wanted to, I could force you to step down because there are laws in this village that dictate the eldest must do her duty regardless of what her position is in the shinobi hierarchy. Her father argued fiercely. He was correct, but there was another option. I know the laws of the Hyuga clan, but there is one that you have neglected to mention. If I'm no longer part of the clan, none of this applies. Hinata said with a smug smile, knowing that she had won. She was glad that she was forced to study the long and tedious process of every law in Hyuga clan and Konoha. You can't do that, said Yamamoto in disbelief. You're insane, you wouldn't speak of exile lightly. Asked Hiyashi. Hinata didn't care about her father's surprised expression, it didn't matter. He wouldn't control her life. No one would. She was going to follow her dreams. No matter what, even if it meant leaving the clan behind. That would put her down a path where she would no longer be tied to the clan. This course of action would permanently cut her off from any connections. Did it really matter though? It should have been you who died, those were the words her father said, which is all she remembers from him. That's the only thing she can think of when she remembers her father. Any memory associated with him is that awful night. She took one last look at her father, she was done. I will let no one get in the way of my dreams or goals. Not you, not the clan. No one, Hinata said with a controlled anger and hatred she had held in for all those years. The abuse, both physical and emotional, at the hands of her father and the elders every time she made a mistake or failed. The gaslighting for her failures, she had no pleasant memories of this place other than those of her mother. There is one thing I would like to say to you, Hiyashi-sama. For the longest time, I have held it in. The longest time I wanted to say this, and I'll say it now. You are no father of mine. The only thing we have in common is that we share blood, nothing more. If there's one thing I will say, it should have been you who died that night, not mother. From that night to the last day of your life, I will never acknowledge you as my father. Now, if you excuse me, I have important business to take care of. This business has taken too long. Hinata felt a huge weight lifted from her shoulders. She didn't care about the angry murmurs or the shocked look on her father's face. She turned her back on him. If she'd paid attention, she would know that a tear was present on his right side. Neji was not shocked by her display of hatred towards the main branch and the clan as a whole. He sympathized with her, he felt the same way. He looked at all those smug elders, just seeing them stunned by Hinata's rejection. She was probably the only person in the entire clan that he had any sort of respect for. Of course, he couldn't allow anyone to know that he revealed what was happening. Hanabi, on the other hand, was not happy. How many times do I have to tell you, father big sis? She was cut off sharply by her father. She disrespected the elders publicly. You will not associate with her. You will do as you're told, child. Her father said, trying to end the discussion. Why? Hanabi asked in anger. Because you're my heir. She looked where her sister had headed. Is that all I am to you? Hanabi asked her father. He couldn't say anything. The elders were shocked. Not only did Hinata defy them, but Hanabi was doing it as well. I just reconciled with my sister. I am not going to cut her out of my life because of you. She left the room, leaving a stunned Hiyashi. He had no words. So he lost both of his daughters. He would smile, but he wasn't going to risk getting punished. Everyone, leave the room now. The normally calm and collected man yelled. Neji didn't need to be told twice, he left. The Chunin exams were going to be interesting indeed. He was reveling in the broken relationship between Hiyashi and his two daughters. He knew Hinata hated her father. He was surprised at how long it took for her to voice her hatred for Hiyashi openly, but it didn't matter to Neji how she felt. His father died because of the main branch. Neji's father was far more talented than Hiyashi, which angered him so much that someone undeserving was in charge of the clan when it should have been Hizashi instead of Hiyashi as the current head. He would have had his chance to pay his debts, which were owed. He might not be strong enough to fight Hinata, as she is now, but he could fight Hanabi. He looked at the girl before leaving, he was more than a match for her. A spoiled child, they're both like that. It was because of Hinata's inept abilities and her uselessness that his father is dead. It didn't matter, his father was disregarded like trash. Neji would show once and for all when the time came, just how inferior the main branch is compared to their counterparts who are more talented than them even though they live in luxury and have the best tutors. The main branch still can't compare to their counterparts in the branch they look down on. He will prove it to everyone when he faces his cousin Hanabi and Hinata just how wrong they truly are. He was looking forward to the exams. A clash of destiny will occur one way or another. He will prove to be correct because destiny is what controls everything. Naruto was waiting for his teammates when Hinata told him that she had been summoned by the elders of the Hyuga clan. Naruto wondered if it had anything to do with the Chunin exams. He was excited and nervous at the same time. Finally, he would be able to prove himself. Finally, he would take the first step towards accomplishing his goal. Naruto noticed someone behind him. He sighed in embarrassment. Of course, it was Konohamaru. He turned around and saw the younger boy, thinking that he had caught Naruto off guard. Naruto went right behind him and said, "You really should work on your stealth, otherwise, you'll never become Hokage." The boy turned around and looked at him, disappointed that he hadn't been able to trick him. "I really thought I had you that time," Konohamaru said disappointingly. "You're going to have to do a lot better. I could see you coming with my eyes closed," Naruto said, turning his back on him. "I'll get you one day," the boy said. Naruto didn't really take him seriously, he was just a kid. It would be years before he could mount a challenge on him. "Well, I'll show you how much my sexy jutsu has improved." Naruto panicked. "No, please don't use that jutsu," Naruto said, trying to get him to stop. "Oh, you think because of your sensei that you're too good for this jutsu now? You don't want Hinata-sensei to know you're a pervert." Naruto turned red because he was so on point. "It's nothing like that. I mean, Konohamaru and his friends were laughing. Who does he think he's fooling?" Udon, one of Konohamaru's friends, said, almost falling to the ground laughing. "It's quite obvious even to me that Naruto has a crush on his sensei," Moegi said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I mean, how do you know?" "I mean, it's not like the girl interrupted him. "It's written all over your face, anyone can see it. If they pay attention," the three of them laughed. Naruto was glad she wasn't there now. What was taking his teammates so long? "She certainly got you there," remarked Kagome. Because of the funds she received from Hinata, she got a new pair of clothing. She had shoes that were more fitting for a shinobi than her shoes were before he lived with Hinata. She had a green skirt and on her upper body she wore a sleeveless vest as an undershirt and a purple leather outfit that was more suited for a kunoichi. Her sword was placed on her lower back, she wore black gloves that exposed her fingers. She was definitely showing herself to be different from her peers. She wore her headband differently, she wore it on her forehead with pride, unlike before when she was reluctant to wear it. Her hair was tied into a ponytail. "Wow, you didn't tell me you had a beautiful teammate. What's her name?" Konohamaru asked. "Sorry, but I'm too old for you. Talk to me in 10 years. It was her way of letting him down gently. "I don't know if he should be here any minute. The question I want to ask is, where's our sensei?" Kagome asked with her arms crossed. "I don't know, I'm getting bored being cramped up here." Naruto complained being stuck in Konoha for almost a month was driving him crazy. It was so boring there that almost nothing to do. At least with Sasuke around he'd have someone to spar with. Naruto then noticed two people he didn't recognize. He saw their headbands. Who were they, and why were they in Konoha? "What do you think you're doing in our village?" asked Konohamaru. The first among them was a boy that was older than Naruto. He wore a bunraku puppeteer's costume, a black, baggy, full-body suit with a red and yellow circle on the front. He also wears a black hood which covered his head completely, and had cat-like ears and his forehead protector on his forehead. This was not someone that Naruto would normally see, and the forehead protector it was foreign, but he recognized the symbol from one of his lessons with Hinata. The person to his right was a girl who appeared to be around 16. Her outfit consisted of a single light purple-colored, off-the-shoulders garment that extended to halfway down her thighs, with a scarlet sash tied around her waist. In addition to incorporating fishnet worn over her shoulders and legs, specifically on her right calf and her left thigh, she also wore her black forehead protector around her neck. "What are Sunagakure ninja doing in our village?" Kagome asked, getting ready to fight. "Oh, how cute. It's so adorable. This little girl thinks she can threaten us," remarked the older girl. "These Konoha ninja are so soft. Do you think we should teach them a lesson, Tamari?" said the older boy in a cocky tone. "Kankuro, I don't think these kids are worth our time," she said arrogantly. "Oh, you think you're tough because you're older than us? Is that it?" Kagome charged at her, but Tamari backhanded her with ease. She didn't hit the ground like she expected. Kagome got back up and had a smirk. "What are you smirking about, girl?" asked Tamari. Naruto noticed immediately that there was an exploding tag. The girl noticed it too, and was shocked. "So, you're not as stupid or weak as I thought. What's your name, girl?" asked Tamari. "Kagome Takahashi," the girl replied. "I hope I get to face you in the Chunin exams. It would be a disappointment if you didn't show up." Naruto didn't like being ignored by the older boy named Kankuro, who looked at him like he was a pest. "What are you looking at, idiot?" he said, irritated to Naruto about his presence. "I'm going to be Hokage of this village one day." Him and Tamari laughed as if it was the most ridiculous joke they'd ever heard. "You're not going to be Hokage. Don't be ridiculous." Kankuro laughed at Naruto trying to show them that he would be Hokage. Before he could make a move, he was stopped by a force of sand. Naruto didn't know why or who it was. He looked and saw a red-haired boy who was on a tree upside down, looking at him. "This boy is far stronger than he appears. I can see it in his eyes," he said with a cold, calculated voice. Naruto felt intense power from him. What was it that he was seeing and feeling? He got down from the tree and looked like he was teleporting. He stared at Naruto and spoke softly. "What's your name?" he asked him. Naruto Uzumaki. He looked like he was absorbing what he had said. "I am Gaara of the Sand. I hope we get to face each other. You have a great power hidden inside you." "I know you do, and I would love to see it." Naruto recoiled. He didn't know why, but he felt bloodlust. Should a person like this be allowed in their village? They passed by them as if it were nothing. Konohamaru was relieved. The tension was over. Kagome looked conflicted. It was hard for Naruto to tell. "Did you feel that?" she asked him. "I never felt such bloodlust from anyone. Is it really safe to allow him in our village?" Naruto didn't know, nor questioned these things, but he couldn't help but wonder if the Chunin exams were really an event that all the villages participated in. Why did he feel like there was something ominous in the air? "That Gaara, he's like you, to think we would encounter another Jinchuriki so soon after the Sapphire mission, unlike Killer Bee. This Gaara is someone with suppressed bloodlust. Be careful with that one, at some point we will likely have to fight him. Thankfully, your sensei was smart enough to teach you all those training methods, but even then, show caution around him. He's not someone we should be trifling with." Kyuubi cautioned that Naruto knew exactly what he was talking about. He felt it, so he had a question he wanted to ask. "Do you think I could talk to him like I did with B?" Naruto wondered if he could resolve a potential conflict between them without it escalating into violence. "I don't know if I would chance it. I doubt this Gaara is the kind of person who would be interested. Something about him makes me feel uneasy. The way he carries himself, the soft-spoken tone in his voice, hides a dark rage that is deep inside of him. Be cautious, that's the only thing I can tell you. Starting a fight with an opponent you're not ready to deal with is foolishness." Kyuubi answered in a way that Naruto expected, but he was hoping for a different kind of answer. "I hope Hinata-chan allows us to enter the exams. It'd be disappointing if we were forced to stay here," Naruto said to his fox companion. Kyuubi looked like he was in deep thought, which was unusual for him. "I don't know, but I believe she will. Though she will likely want to test you all first, but I cannot help but feel like there's something sinister in the air. Kit, be careful. Something about these exams seems sinister, be on your guard," Kyuubi warned. What was it about the air that made Kyuubi feel uneasy? He wanted to ask, but he knew he wouldn't get any answers from Naruto. He had to follow Kyuubi's advice. There was one thing, however, on his mind: where was Hinata? She should be meeting up with her team, but she was so angry just being around her father, who had said, "It should have been you." No matter how many years have passed, Those words still hurt more than any beating she ever received. The festering hatred she felt towards her father and his clan as a whole, she didn't mean to blow up like that or lose her composure. She couldn't face her team, not like this, even though she was in the training grounds. It was difficult for her to concentrate, difficult to calm down. All around her were craters on the ground, holes in the trees. Nothing could calm her down. It was extremely difficult. Then she heard a voice behind her. It was her sister who looked upset. How could she possibly face her sister? I don't want you to see me like this, Hanabi. She didn't want to say any hurtful words and destroy their relationship after reconciling. I understand, but they have another thing coming if they think I'm going to cut you off from my life after we reconciled. Fuck those people. I'll leave the clan if I have to choose between them and you. Hinata was shocked. You didn't have to do that. Hinata said to her younger sister. I don't give a damn about those old fucks who don't give a two shits about us. They just see us as extensions of themselves. We have no say in our dreams or what we want for our futures. Fuck them, and I'm certainly not going to give up my sister for them. Hanabi said angrily. She's willing to leave the clan for her if it ever came down to her choosing. They can't do anything to her or Hinata as long as they don't leave the village. They're still officially part of the clan. The laws in Konoha are very clear when it comes to disputes within the clan. I really don't want to go back to the compound right now. You don't mind if I stay at your place, do you? Asked Hanabi. Of course not. You're always welcome. We're family. Hinata smiled warmly. You should meet with your students. They're waiting for you and I need to meet with my team. I'll see you later, Hinata. Hanabi left Hinata to go to her team. She had to completely calm herself before she met up with her team. The last thing she wanted was them seeing her angry and weak. Though explaining the state of the training grounds would be difficult, she could come up with a plausible explanation for doing intense training and testing a technique she just learned. Yeah, that would do. The last thing she wanted was talking about her clan with anyone. Your clan doesn't deserve you. Your kind and pure heart is what makes you special, Hinata. Itachi said as she clenched her fists tightly when she remembered that memory of them at this very place. Why does every place have to remind her of Itachi? She took a deep breath. No, she would not think about Itachi. He was nothing more than a criminal. If she ever found him one day, he would be dead at her feet. She pushed all thoughts of Itachi aside and focused on the present, her students and fulfilling her promise to Kushina. That's all that mattered at the moment, nothing else. Sasuke couldn't help but feel like someone was following him. He looked over his shoulder, and there was nothing behind him. His teammates were waiting for him. There was nothing he hated more than having Naruto and Kagome give him crap about being late. Him being stuck in Konoha for almost a month had driven him crazy, not doing anything drove him crazy. The training was nice, Hinata was definitely helping him make progress, but he felt like he hadn't made progress fast enough. He heard footsteps again. Turning around, he saw a girl with brown hair who looked to be about 16 years old. Who are you? Sasuke asked her. I'm just a traveler, the girl answered. He didn't believe it. He couldn't recognize this girl anywhere in Konoha. He couldn't see her face, her voice was soft. You're not anyone I know. Sasuke replied. The girl was right behind him before he could do anything, he heard a whisper. I am not your enemy, he could hear it in her tone that she was sincere. Who are you? Sasuke asked her. I'm no one, the girl replied indifferently. Sasuke wanted to get to the bottom of it but he didn't sense any hostility from her, no hostile intent. I don't know how you could stand it in this village, the girl said with contempt. What are you talking about? Sasuke asked, confused. Don't you feel the taint in the air? Don't you feel the rot? So much evil in one place, I don't know how you can stomach it. The girl said contemptuously of the atmosphere of Konoha. Sasuke was confused. What was she talking about? You will know in time, if I tell you now, you won't believe me. He still didn't understand what she was talking about. Are you a friend or an enemy? Sasuke asked her. Perhaps both or neither, but know that I know the truth of the rot in this village. If you desire to know the truth, you will find it in time when your Sharingan has fully awakened. Go to the shrine, only someone with Sharingan or Byakugan fully awakened will learn the true history of this village, written in the language that your brother has all but extinguished. Only you know the Uchiha language. Sasuke was cut off guard to how she knew. Before he could ask any more questions, she vanished whatever kind of skill she had. It was far more advanced than any genin's skill set. She must be at least a Jonin at very least. He had to be on his guard, but she did not mean him any harm. Just who is she and who does she work for? He couldn't ponder his questions for long. Naruto and Kagome approached him, obviously tired of waiting. Sasuke, where have you been this whole time? Kagome asked, worried. If he told them about the mysterious girl from earlier, they wouldn't believe him. He decided to keep that part to himself instead. He would tell half of the truth as a way to avoid suspicion. I was visiting my clan's memorial. It was half true because that's what he did prior. There's a strange people who came from Sunagakure not too long ago. You missed it. Naruto said, disappointed that Sasuke wasn't there. So it's finally here, the end of this boring and tedious almost month-long doing nothing but training. Finally something interesting, Sasuke said, relieved. This was his chance to test the results of his training he knew about Chunin exams. I can't wait to prove to everyone that I'm not just a class clown anymore. I can't wait to wipe those smug looks off the faces of those people when they see me beating them all. Naruto said excitedly. Sasuke rolled his eyes. He would be lying if he wasn't intrigued by Naruto's growth. He had to train much harder since Hinata gave him their one-on-one lessons. If he wasn't careful, Naruto would surpass him faster than he anticipated, considering he was catching up to him. Where is our sensei? Asked Kagome. I don't know where Hinata sensei is, it's not like her to be late. Something must be going on. Naruto said, concerned. There's a question I'd like to ask. Am I the only one who finds it odd that Naruto lives with his sensei? Kagome pointed out. Are we doing this again? Naruto said, his face turning red in embarrassment. I'm sorry, it's just I find it funny. I mean, come on, Naruto. Can you just admit that you have a crush on our sensei? It's been pretty obvious from day one. Sasuke thought even a blind bat would be able to spot it. Let's just go to the training grounds to pass the time. It's not like she can't find us with her Byakugan. Naruto said, covering up his embarrassment. He rolled his eyes and figured, why not train to pass the time? It's not like they haven't done that for almost a month now. God, he is tired of this. He has to test results of his training against anyone to know if he is any closer of achieving his goal. Hinata was alone at the training grounds where her team trains. So much had happened today, telling her father how she felt. Something she should have done years ago. Her father's hurtful words after her mother's death still hurt her more than any physical beating ever could. That night also was tainted with memories of him. She will not think about him. Every memory with Itachi was tainted. She questioned if everything they did together was it all a lie. After all these years later, it was still difficult to move on. She would have been easier just to pretend that she never had feelings for him, but love didn't work that way, unfortunately. After what happened with Itachi, she made a vow she would never fall in love again. There was no room for love, her dream is all that mattered. Well, no, that's not true. Naruto mattered to her because of the promise she made to a woman who was like a second mother. He matters to her team, and he matters to her. Ever since Naruto entered her life, things have been out of control. It's much easier for her to keep control over her emotions when he isn't around. What is it about him that affects her so much? She couldn't help but think about the events that happened yesterday when Naruto made her laugh by defacing the entire Hyuga compound and exposing secrets of members of the civilian council. She had never laughed as hard as she did when Itachi was able to do that. Not even he was able to make her smile like Naruto did, not even she thought about him. Her students were anxious, they were eager to do something she couldn't blame them for. Being crammed in the village for almost a month would drive anyone mad. The Chunin exams were approaching. She had to make a decision, and she had to make it today. Today was the day all the senseis would gather at Hokage's office and give her recommendation that they would do one final test for her team to determine if they were truly ready. She heard footsteps behind her and knew without any words being said that her students had arrived. She turned around and saw the look on their faces. Naruto especially looked determined. She wanted to see if they had what it took. I know you're all eager to do something after being crammed into the village for almost a month. As you know, the Chunin exams are going to start relatively soon. Today is the day where I will be going to the Hokage's office where I will give my recommendation, but first I have to determine if you are ready. Naruto's eyes lit up, Sasuke's did too. It was difficult to read, but he was eager and Kagome her eyes were like Naruto's. She wanted to know for herself if all the training she had done to her students over the past few months had paid off. Naruto especially, she had helped him with her one-on-one lessons along with Sasuke. Kagome wasn't on their team for long, but she still had to test her anyway to see if she was ready. I won't lie to you, the exams are dangerous. You could potentially get severely injured or killed. I'm not going to send you to such an exam unless I'm sure that you're ready. However, even if I deem that you're ready, the final decision to go through with the exams will be yours and yours alone. I will not force you to do something you don't feel you're ready for. Hinata said. Her students nodded along. She took the bells out. There were only two. Go all out and attack me as if you're going to kill me. Use whatever means necessary to get the bells. As if on cue, the team. Naruto threw a smoke bomb to blind Hinata. She activated her Byakugan only to be surprised by shadow clones of Kagome and Sasuke, who had a difficult time finding out which ones were real and which ones weren't due to them relentlessly assaulting her. She could defeat them all with ease, but the whole purpose was not for them to win but to take the bells. Sasuke threw shurikens at her. She knew who the real Sasuke was, as she deflected them with ease. That wasn't all he did. She saw a fireball come at her from her left and right side. She deflected his jutsu with her rotation. But that did not stop Sasuke. He threw another barrage of shuriken before she can deflect Naruto with his shadow clones through a barrage of kunai. She said nothing as she blocked projectiles left and right. They were serious. If she weren't as skilled as she was, she wouldn't be able to keep up with them. Kagome with her sword casted a water jutsu. Water-style water dragon thrust. Kagome water formed around her sword and launched like a beam of water, knocking Hinata hard against the tree. Before she could do anything, Kagome created two water clones before she could get her bearings and cast a misty jutsu so thick that without the Byakugan, she wouldn't be able to see. She activated her Byakugan in order to try and find her students, especially Naruto, because of what happened last time. She wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. She couldn't find where Naruto was until she saw him in the air doing hand signs. Wind style, wind blade jutsu, formed on his hand, and she was about to be struck by it. Hinata barely managed to dodge. Team 7 was working in tandem without saying a word. This was an improvement over before. She wondered how they were going to take the bells this time. Naruto signaled for Sasuke and Kagome for their next move. They dispersed. They're trying to catch her off guard. She was waiting for them to make any kind of move. She had taught her students well, not to strike impatiently at an opponent that was stronger than them. They knew this tactic wouldn't last forever, since this was a simulation of a real battle. The first one to come out was Sasuke, who had a confident look on his face. He took wires out of his pouch. Unlike the last time he tried this trick on her, he didn't aim directly at her but around her, and then the last part of the string was directly at her right hand. Hinata wasn't able to move it. She wondered what the point of this was. Naruto out of nowhere went straight at her to her right side with his windblade jutsu. She would not be able to dodge this unless she went all out with her left hand, hitting Naruto straight in the chest. She wondered where Kagome was. Why was she nowhere to be found? Sasuke casted a jutsu which engulfed all the wires in flame. She had to act quickly, or she would get heavily injured by this technique. She jumped out of the way and landed safely away from her students, who didn't have a look of panic on their faces for what seemed like a complete failure. Kagome was at the center with a smile of triumph on her face. She noticed that the bells were not there. They had been taken by Kagome, who smiled triumphantly. Hinata was proud of all her students, especially Naruto. She'd seen them grow so much, and she was particularly proud of him for managing to get Sasuke and Kagome to work together without verbal communication. I'm proud of all of you. You have passed with flying colors. Your teamwork has gotten better than before, and you don't have to communicate verbally. You have outdone yourselves. Naruto, you were careful about your surroundings and didn't use techniques that would endanger your teammates. You made sure to communicate what you were doing before doing it. Naruto put both his hands behind his head and turned away, blushing at her praise. You, Sasuke, used one of your clan's techniques in an unconventional manner as a way to distract me rather than attack me. You have come a long way in the past 3 months by putting aside your differences with your teammates to focus on a larger goal. I am proud of you, Sasuke, for coming such a long way since that first day I met you. For the way I have treated you, I am sorry deeply. Hinata said when she thought about the way she treated him because of his relation to Itachi. Then she looked at Kagome, the girl she had only been teaching for a month. She had misgivings at first because of her reputation and her failure with Sakura, but she couldn't help but admit that she was wrong about her first impression of this girl. Kagome, you are a talented young woman. You have proven yourself time and time again. The way you worked with your teammates, how you used stealth in order to get the bells, you have shown qualities that are important if you ever want to be a member of the Abu Black Ops. You have the talent for it, I can see it in your skills, and it's such a young age. You have such potential that I think it would be a waste if it was never brought out. I was wrong to judge you. Hinata said what she honestly felt in her heart. She knew the next part would be where she would make her decision. There was silence as to what she was about to say next could change everything. As much as she would like to give them another year to prepare, she couldn't do that. Not after all the hard work. They believe they can do it, and it would be wrong to hold them back. But you failed, it's your fault. Sakura is dead. She heard herself say that. She pushed the thought deep into the back of her mind. She couldn't show any sign of second thoughts that she may be having. She didn't want them to rush and make such a big decision. The exam won't begin until the next day anyway. This would be their last day before they would do nothing but focus on the Chunin exams for the next month if they pass the second exam, which would be training and preparing for the finals. Overall, there wouldn't be much free time for them if they decide that they wanted to take the exam. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the exam, Kagome said eagerly. There's no way I'm not taking the exam, Naruto agreed. I'm not waiting a year. I'm taking the exam, Sasuke said, excited about the prospect of taking the exams. Since you've already made up your minds, I'm giving you the whole day off. Relax for the day because after this, you will not have any free time for the next month. She looked at Kagome. Kagome, make sure to spend whatever time you have with your mother. You won't be seeing her for the next month. She looked worried by how Hinata said it. My mother, the money that you gave us has been helping us for the past month, but I don't know. Hinata looked at her with understanding. She hated this system of shinobi being provided for. There was so much wrong with it that the old guard gladly guards with their rotten hearts. That would change when she becomes Hokage. Children should not have to worry about their parents not being able to provide for themselves, especially if they're civilians or retired shinobi. The system had to change, the status quo couldn't stay as is. I will have Hokage-sama make sure your mother is provided for with the proper funds. Hinata said to reassure her. Thank you sensei, I don't like asking this of you, it's just, she is such a good girl. What did she ever do to deserve someone like her on her team? I'll see you tomorrow, Hinata said to her students. Then she looked at Naruto, knowing that she would see him later tonight considering they lived together. She headed to the Hokage office. Her decision, even though she didn't want to do it, she was going to allow her students to take the exams. She would prefer to give them another year, but she knows they're ready and she wasn't going to allow her fear of failure get in the way of her decision. She believes in her students, she believes in Naruto, and for that reason alone, that was enough for her to feel confident in her decision. Hiyashi was in his own quarters. He sighed deeply. He placed his hand on his face, and the words Hinata said to him earlier played over and over again. You should have died instead of mother. Those words cut deep into his soul. He never thought he'd ever hear them from his own daughter. The hatred she feels for him is so strong that even in his own quarters, he shed a tear where nobody can see. Seeing his oldest daughter, who reminds him so much of his wife, he looked at a picture taken when they were both 19 years old. It was a happy memory. At the time, he was 19, as was his wife. There was nothing special about her according to the elders of the clan, but she was everything to him. Whatever he needed counsel, he went to her. Whatever he needed comfort after a long hard day, he went to her. He had loved that woman so much he felt a part of him died with her. The only thing he has left to remind him that she existed at all is this picture that he was looking at. Hinata is a mere image of what she looked like when she was the same age. She was good friends with Minato. He remembers at one point him being jealous of him. He looked at another photo of Minato at his wedding with his wife by his side. He had not said her name in 10 years. It was a painful reminder that she was not with him anymore. Also he felt he lost the right to mention her name after the awful words he said to his own daughter after she lost her mother. Hanabi wants nothing to do with him either. This is his punishment for his failure to protect her and being powerless to stop his brother from dying. This was also punishment for his carelessness when he lost his wife instead of comforting his child. He said the most horrific things that a father could ever say to their child. He regretted it immediately, but he couldn't take it back. When he tried to apologize, Hinata wouldn't talk to him. No matter how hard he tried to get the words out, he couldn't. After that night, Hinata had not called him father again. After all, what right did he have to be called as such after saying such horrible things? Hinata's mother would be disappointed. He felt so shameful of his actions that night that he had never mentioned her name again. Hanabi, the daughter that was preferred by the clan, doesn't know what he had said to Hinata that night. If she ever finds out, when she finds out, she will cut him off completely. Their relationship may not be as strained as Hinata's, but it will happen if she ever finds out. Then his thoughts turned to Yui, his second wife. She insisted on producing another heir, a son. Yui is in her early 20s and wants an heir. The woman is barely older than his eldest daughter. She wants an heir because by clan law, if the current head of the clan is a son, he would supersede everyone, including the eldest daughter, for right of succession. He doesn't want another child. It isn't from his wife, whom he loves, but from his current one, who has no love for him or he for her. I am sorry I'm such a failure. I failed you in every way. Both of our daughters hate me and want nothing to do with me. I couldn't fulfill your promise. I am completely lost without you. I don't even feel worthy of calling you by your name. Please forgive me, he said weakly. After he paid his respects to his late wife, he left his private quarters. He couldn't appear weak in front of his peers, especially his father, who would have no tolerance for such weakness. He would have to go through the same routine with his father explaining him why he doesn't want to have more children. His father pressured him. He didn't know how long he could do it because once he has a son, his daughters' futures will be threatened. The least he can do for his daughters is protect them in the only way he can. If he has to, he will protect his daughters by any means necessary, even if he has to risk being cast down from his position as the head of the clan. His children are all he has left of his first love and only love. He will not allow any harm to come to them, even if he has to go against the clan itself. There is no other way he could honor his wife than to protect their children by any means necessary. Jiraiya was visiting a grave. It was difficult going here after all these 13 years. He feels like he's a different man when he thinks about those times. Hikari's body was never found, though she was presumed dead on a mission she went on 13 years ago. I'm sorry I don't visit you very often. I wish I knew. I've said it many times. I was such an idiot, Jiraiya said out loud. He didn't dare visit her sister or her niece. He felt ashamed. He had such a great woman and he threw her away because of his unwillingness to commit. He had many regrets in his life. Hikari was the biggest. There was another person by him. It was her sister. Paying your respects to my sister, I see, she said with a voice full of ice. I'm sorry, Naomi. He knew it would never be good enough no matter how many years pass. You broke my sister's heart. You have some nerve. He knew he didn't deserve to be here. What else could he do? He couldn't leave Konoha. I know I'm reminded of it every day, the idiot that I was and the awful mistake that I made. He didn't want to argue with her, not in front of Hikari's grave. Hikari was 10 years younger than her sister. If she were still alive, she would be 42. She was 10 years younger than Jiraiya as well. He puts the memories to the side. He couldn't indulge himself in the past, not when there are other things that he had to focus on. I don't want to fight with you, Naomi. I'll leave out of respect. Jiraiya was about to leave, but she stopped him with a firm hand. No, my sister would want you here as much as I don't want you here, but I have to respect her wishes. She loved you no matter how much I wish it wasn't otherwise. He did exactly what she told him and stayed. There was a silence between them. My daughter is friends with Naruto, your godson. Naomi told him she has a kid of her own. This shocked him considering he pushed that thought aside. Anything could have happened in the past 13 years. That's good, Naruto could use friends. He felt like a screw-up. Perhaps he should have stayed in the village more to be the father Naruto needed. Another regret, another reminder of his lifelong list of failures. Hinata is his sensei, as you probably already know. He knew that much at least, she's taking care of him from what his sensei told him. Naruto's living with her, not something that's encouraged, but at least he knows Naruto is being taken care of now, and Hinata did promise his parents to take care of him. He would have to pay Hinata a visit when he had the chance. Anything else I should know? Jiraiya asked her. No, Jiraiya was about to turn his back. He had work to do. He had to do it, but before he could do anything, Naomi said one last thing. If you think you can run away from your mistakes, think again. You may say you're going on a secret mission, but you're using that as an excuse to run away from failure. Sooner or later, Jiraiya, you will have to take responsibility for every failure, and running away or making excuses isn't going to change anything. She knew he couldn't respond because she was absolutely right. He walked away with no more words exchanged between them. Little did they know they were being watched. She knew she shouldn't be doing this, it endangered her mission, but she had to make sure that Naomi and Jiraiya did not catch on. It had been 13 years since she had started her mission deep undercover. Everything she had done was even disregarding her own identity. It was a mission with no endpoint, no end date. She was the lone infiltrator en route. She wore a mask that resembled that of a frog. Her hair was tied back in a long brown braid. Her attire was standard for an Anbu, and too much was at stake to allow Danzo to suspect anything. I'm sorry, Jiraiya, Naomi, and Kagome, the woman said softly as she headed to the destination where the next meeting would take place. Hinata was with her peers in the Hokage's office. It was time for the decision that would change their lives. She saw her peers looking at her with contempt. She knew what they were thinking. Someone so young shouldn't be a Jonin. She wouldn't allow the naysayers to sway her because, after all, she worked hard. She wasn't here because of any other reason. You've all gathered here to give your recommendations whether your students are ready or not to take the exams. I have looked at all of your records, mission success rates, even your students. All of you check out, though it's ultimately your decision whether or not you feel your students are ready. The Hokage said. Hinata was confident that her students were ready even if she doesn't want to send them to the exams. The first among them was Kurenai. My students are ready to take the exams, she said. I've tested them in any way I possibly could to see if they can handle the difficulties that lie ahead of them. With complete confidence, I could say they are ready. Hinata wasn't surprised. Her friend was very good at preparing her students. She saw their performance during the mission, especially Hanabi's, especially. Though she was worried about her sister, if she had it her way, she wouldn't take the exam at all. But she couldn't do that because she wasn't on her team. The second of her peers, Asuma, who encouraged her and one of the people who recommended her to the rank of Jonin, said, Team 10 is more than capable of taking the exam. In fact, I'd argue they're overqualified. I have full confidence that they will do well in the exam. I recommend my team take it. Asuma said with confidence that he had full faith in his students. He wasn't just boasting, he never did such a thing when he said it, meaning it. The next recommended his students with someone she knew well that she worked with from time to time, who trained her how to better utilize her taijutsu skills of taijutsu outside of gentle fist so she wouldn't depend on her clan's technique as much, and even taught her a few aspects of the inner gates. He stood out amongst his peers with his attire was nearly all green. His headband was an area that is not usually common. He has short black hair and is very energetic. My team is more than ready. I've trained them for a year. I kind of feel bad for your teams, though. Due to their lack of experience, mine have an advantage, he said with a friendly smile to everyone including Hinata. There were others who gave their recommendations. Hinata was the last of them. Everyone in the room was looking at her. None of these kids should be taking the exams for at least 2 or 3 years, she heard Iruka, Naruto's sensei in the academy, say. It cannot be undone, we've all recommended our students. Kurenai said, irritated with Iruka, who had no experience training a 3-man cell, talking about things he knew nothing about. I know them better than anyone, I've taught them for years. They're not ready. Hinata wanted to lash out, but she calmed herself. It wouldn't do her any good if she lashed out just to reinforce what her name says about her ability to lead a team. She got one of my students killed on their first real combat mission. Does she really have the best judgment? He pointed at Hinata accusingly. Everyone seems to agree with him, except for Kurenai, Guy and Asuma. Anybody could have made that mistake. Zabuza was no joke. Kakashi said, coming to her defense. She didn't realize he was in the room. She should have had the judgment to pull back when the mission was too difficult for her students. Uruka countered. Hinata wanted to lash out in anger. She couldn't abandon those people despite the deep shame she feels today of part of her wishing she had because of Sakura's death being her fault. Uruka wasn't wrong, but she couldn't have the appearance of admitting that he was right. She had to stand her ground and defend her actions. And leave the people of the Land of Waves at the mercy of scum like Goto. You weren't there, you don't know what the conditions were in the Land of Waves. There was poverty and destitution. Had I left the land, it would still be ruled by Goto, and those in the Land of Waves would have cursed our land for the rest of their lives, possibly ruining any possible relations we could have had in the future. I don't regret my decision to help those people. Don't talk about things you know nothing about. You weren't there. Hinata countered coldly. Sakura died a needless death because of your poor judgment. How do I know this is any different? He countered. She wasn't going to allow anyone to question her competence, especially in front of her peers and the Hokage. Naruto, I know him better than any of them. He is not ready to go to the exams until he's at least 15 years old. Sasuke isn't as willing to work with others, and Kagome was dropped from the program for a reason, yet she was allowed back on because of your blender at the Land of Waves. He looked at her accusingly. No, she would not allow him to question her judgment, especially when he doesn't have experience training a three-man cell. Hinata had to keep herself under control and not snap. This was the challenge of being under such pressure from her peers, who already did not respect her because of her lack of experience and age. She spoke in a calm and uncompromising tone. I'll make one thing clear, Uruka. I make the calls, not you. They're my students. Last time I checked, they're not yours. I've been around them longer than 3 months, the amount of time you trained them. Majority of the time you spent with them was in the classroom. You didn't go around training them one-on-one. You didn't go around teaching them how to properly defend themselves, because most people who run the academy are incompetent and cannot teach. You being an exception. I appreciate you caring about Naruto, I really do. But I'm the one that has been training him to properly learn the basics to properly defend himself and improve his chakra control. She looked at her peers looking at her accusingly and continued. I made sure to properly test all of my students so that I can in good conscience recommend them to take the exams. It's my call, not yours. She didn't use her authoritative voice very often to her peers of lower rank, but when it came to situations like this where her competence was being questioned in front of her peers, she was the youngest and couldn't allow anyone to make her look like she is incapable of making the right call. Do you have anything else to add? She asked him coldly. He said nothing. Kakashi looked at her proudly, knowing that she stood her ground despite what had happened today with her clan. She was proud of herself for managing to keep calm in this situation, an important trait that would become important when she ever becomes Hokage. I, Hinata Hyuga, recommend Team 7 to take the exams. They are more than ready. Everyone was speechless. The inexperienced woman who had been promoted only a few months ago was recommending her students to take the exams. She felt like she was sweating. It was completely nerve-wracking, but she couldn't show how nervous she was if she wanted to ever gain their respect. Very well, tomorrow's exams begin. You are all dismissed, the Hokage said. They dispersed before Hinata left. Kakashi walked beside her as they were walking outside. You did well on how you handled that situation. Kakashi said to her. I feel nervous inside. I'm still not completely confident that I made the right choice. Did I, sensei? She asked Kakashi. She was wondering what he was thinking. It was hard to tell with that mask on his face. I believe you made the right call. All senseis are not sure if they made the right choice and are concerned about their students. It's natural. The choices you will have to make when you become Hokage will be far more difficult. It will make the one you made today look easy, and there's times where there is no right answer or right choice, there's a bad choice and a worse one. She was starting to understand things have gotten far more complicated since she'd been promoted. Choices that she didn't have to consider before or make, she had to think of all the variables. The one thing you can do for them is have faith in them and believe that they can succeed. Have confidence that you trained them well. You cannot show in any way that you regret your choice. They will know this, especially Naruto. Yes, Naruto. She has the strongest bond with him even though she wasn't intended to do so. She sat down on the bench and looked up at the sky. It would be night soon. Do you think she would approve of what I'm doing with her own son? Hinata asked Kakashi. Keeping a promise to look after Naruto was something she wanted because you were the one person she trusted. You were always responsible even when you were a child. She was confident that you would be a good friend to Naruto and be the kind of person he needs. She understood that, but she wasn't even able to do anything for Naruto until recently because she wasn't allowed to. I think she would be proud of you. Same thing with Minato-sensei on how far you have come. If there's one consistent thing with Kakashi was that smile, she could see it even with the mask on. I have to head back tomorrow, the exams begin and I need to get rested. She bidded Kakashi farewell and left. Yui was furious. She was so close to prove once and for all that despite not being a full-blooded Hyuga, she was superior to Hinata in every way, yet the damn elders stopped her. She looked at her hair in the mirror and hated it, the damn Uzumaki blood in her veins. Despite proving herself time and again as a Hyuga, it was never good enough. The very idea of having to marry someone who is old enough to be her father disgusted her. It was not a marriage she would have wanted. It was forced. Despite all of that, despite studying in depth about everything about the Hyuga clan, she still wasn't considered one of them. She was meditating alone in her garden. No one dared to disturb her because they disliked her, but they had to respect her because of tradition. She heard footsteps and then looked, noticing a girl with brown hair. "Who are you and why are you here?" Yui asked the girl. "I can ask you the same question, why are you in this place if you hate it so much?" The girl asked rhetorically. "Give me one reason I shouldn't call the guards," the woman said with a deadly calm. "They wouldn't be able to get to you in time," the girl responded calmly as she got very close up to her face. The girl had brown hair and blue eyes. It was difficult to make out what her face looked like from what she could tell, which seemed to indicate that she was around 16 or older, though it was hard to tell due to the robes covering her body from head to toe. "You say you're stronger than me," Yui said with a deadly calm. "I've observed you and Hinata. My mother desires to know what is happening to her former clan that casted her out," the girl said, ignoring her question. "There's no way you're implying that Kana exists. She's a myth," she said to convince herself more than the girl in front of her, who laughed at such childishness. "Yes, of course you would think that, but you're not exactly one of them, are you? You have their features of a Hyuga within Uzumaki. The only reason you were allowed to marry anyone from this clan was because they want the chakra reserves your children will have. They don't see you as a person, they just see you as a potential breeding stock," the girl said matter-of-factly. "You lie," she said, her voice deadly. She got up to her full height and pushed the girl back into her stance. "How amusing. You actually think you could defeat me? I've been trained by the most powerful Hyuga that has ever existed. You're nothing more than a child, just like Hinata." "Such foolishness," the girl said as she got into her own stance. She wasted no time with words and charged at her. The girl dodged with ease, which frustrated Yui. She was far faster, there being no way she could dodge all of her attacks. At the first opportunity, the girl knocked her down. She got up again and regained her footing. She activated her lion fist, but the girl looked at her indifferently, with no fear in her eyes. "Blood-red lion, fist, a mark of your mixed bloodline," the girl said tauntingly. "Shut up," she yelled as she attacked her wildly. She dodged like it was nothing, she was toying with her. Then she knocked her down again and pinned her down with her right knee, speaking in a threatening tone. "I'm here for one reason and one reason alone, you, child. I'm here to look after Hinata Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha. I only came here to see if you were worth my mother's time. You're confused, child. I understand an outcast who is forced to live in the very clan that she hates. A child who is neither a Hyuga nor an Uzumaki has the features of both but belongs to neither. I am from no clan, I am no one yet. Look how easily I defeated you," the girl said as she was scolding a child. This angered her more than anything else. She fought to get the girl off of her, but it wouldn't work. "I fight for a higher cause, don't you see it? Yui, the evil in air is rotten. The rot. I know you do. Why do you think you meditate here and not anywhere else? This village is rotten to its core and this clan is everything wrong with this village. Mother can give you a place to belong where you don't have to be someone you're not. You are not a Hyuga, you never will be." She moved her knee off her back, trying to get up in order to fight again. But the girl left. "Should you become disillusioned, you will seek us out. Kana will welcome you because she welcomes all children of the abandoned," the girl said in a sympathetic tone, feeling nothing more in the air. No, she couldn't take anything this girl said at face value. She will find a place in the clan, they will accept her as soon as she has a son. Her place in the clan won't be questioned. But she couldn't help but think in the back of her mind about the girl's words. She will one day prove to the world that she is superior to Hinata Hyuga, the spoiled princess of her clan. She looks forward to proving to everyone just how much a fraud Hinata is. She was looking forward to that day, and she will be there when she is cast down. She will take what's hers by right, which Hinata denies. Unlike Hinata, she won't deny what's hers. She followed Hinata like a predator following prey. It was so easy she could end the lives of Kakashi and Hinata without them ever knowing she was there, but she was told to hold back. Her mission was to keep an eye on them. She made sure not to get too close. She entered her apartment carefully with binoculars zoomed in, seeing a brown-haired girl who looked like the woman's sister, then saw a blonde-haired boy who was happy when Hinata put food on the table. They were laughing about something, but something about the boy was familiar to her. "I love you, sensei," a blonde-haired man said. It was the first time she'd heard someone tell her that they loved her. She'd never loved anyone, she'd never had a son, but something about him made him feel familiar to her. Why did he look like someone she once knew? She'd never questioned anything before until she first laid eyes on Naruto. "You look after him, won't you, Hina-chan?" said a voice that sounded like her own. "Of course I will. I'll look after Naruto and protect him from the bad people," she heard a 5-year-old girl say excitedly. These memories, what were they? Who was she before she became part of Root? She never asked questions before, and it was concerning her. No, these were just delusions that she dismissed. Her mission was to keep an eye on Hinata and eliminate her should the need arise. The others would keep an eye on Naruto and his team. Danzo gave her purpose, and that was enough. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and have a great day.